rocking with me, man. It's always a pleasure.
The same thing here. How's everybody doing today? You know, we're waiting on Raymond to come back in here. We're live right now. It's 4 o'clock. The Morehouse, Momentum, OHUB, RadioOne. I mean, it's about to go all the way down tonight, man. We're about to do this for Black America. We're about to show people how to digitally make money, how to, really get this. Okay. Raymond, he'll be back in a second. Indu, we looking for you. How you doing today, though, Rico?
Hey, man, I'm feeling good. It's always a pleasure to be with Mr. B High and OHUB. You know what I'm saying? Always a pleasure, man. I love the way, just one being involved with, tech heavily, but just still making it happen through this pandemic. I think that's just, a great, ability to have just have this technology to use it, where we can just stream and still reach the masses. Exactly. But always a pleasure. What's up, Mr. Ray? Welcome.
Hey, back. What's up, man? Good to see you. Can you hear me okay?
Good now. So
good. So welcome, everybody. Again, Brian, thank you so much. So listen, Samia here, Brian. You see Samia, Amber, Monique, Phil, Mike, Afro Latina, Javier. Brian, you excited, man?
Man, I am totally excited about this because right now, with the way that this recession is going, people need hope, they need information, they need solutions, and they need answers, and we are here for it tonight.
That's a tweet right there. That is a tweet right there. And again, keep the comments coming. People are saying hello, beautiful mind, chiming in. Angelique, Samia, this is awesome. And feel free while you're doing it, where are you from? And what do you hope to get tonight? What do you want answers to come from tonight? What do you want Brian to tell you tonight? What do you want DJ Rico? But me and Brian are just color commentators. The wisdom going to come from the panel and the people there.
That's right.
So shout out where you're from, what you want to hear. Miguel and Melinda. Wow, this is powerful. Talia. Wow. And by the way, I'm Ramon Ray from New Jersey. Brian, what about you, brother?
I'm Brian B. High Top from Hot 1079 down here in Atlanta. Shout out Big B75. They call me Radio Shouty. What's happening, man? I mean, I am so excited about tonight, man. Ray.
Nice.
What do the people need to really be expecting tonight, though?
I know. Listen, what I think is nice about this, and again, let's give shout out. And Brian, I'm probably going to do this throughout the show tonight. Shout out to Rodney Sampson, CEO and founder of OHUB. Props to him. Rodney. Rico, that's right, Rodney, and Dew and Lyndon and the team. So that's one. But I think, Brian, from my experience, what's going to be tonight, listen, Black and Brown, there are issues in our community for sure. And Rodney's kind of holding that flame to it and bringing the best minds in business from Congressman Jackson on down. I think I got the name right. On down. Yes. On down. Congressman Hank Johnson, pardon me, Congressman Johnson, on down. And wisdom. That's what we're here. And I think part, Brian, inspiration, and I think part education. So that's what I see is going to come. What about yourself?
The same thing here. Now, I want to ask you this, Raymond, as a podcaster, what has it been like for you being able to go digital during this time? Because like I've been telling my students, I also teach at Clark Atlanta University, Mass Media Arts. I tell them that podcasting is the future of media altogether, okay? So how do you feel about being able to go digital right now from the privacy of your home studio and still make noise and be engaging?
Oh man, it is crazy exciting. I mean, it is powerful. So I think for me, it's been powerful. And I think, as you said, I do main stage stuff all over, but I think being here today, it's a different experience, but you feel the energy. And by the way, Brian, I'm going to defer to you, but DJ Rico, because we're going to start, I think the show's going to go off at 4:15. So DJ Rico, if you want to hit some tunes kind of a little bit low while we're talking, we can play with that unless Rodney says no. We're just, so, but Brian, what do you think? Because I think at 4:15,
I'm here for it. Rico, let's get this vibe going, brother.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I just want to make sure that the sound, is good and everybody can hear everybody at the same time. So,
okay.
All right, good. So we'll give you time. But I just want to make sure we hear that sound because I know you're not just here just to look pretty, But
Ray, you ain't got no sense.
But Brian, we got the comments still coming in. Ashley Nicole says, hey, and don't forget, and Duke, you hear this? Here we go.
Okay.
Tori.
You know your verse and stuff right now, DJ Rico Valley. I see you over there, brother.
Y'all know I come with the vibes every time.
Melinda from Toledo, Ohio. Opening her business, Brian.
Oh, man. This is awesome.
We got Crystal in the house, Brian.
Yep. Crystal, what's going on?
Right.
Tori Dero, what's happening?
Howard Alum in the house. Tori Duro.
Olivia Boone, what's up? Got a little Aggie Pride in here. See now. if y'all gonna be hashtagging something, but it needs to be hashtagging.
That's right.
New job form, please.
Brian Weir is here from Pensacola, Florida, with the Gulf Coast Minority Chamber of Commerce.
What's happening? Lawrence Wingo, I see you over there.
And by the way, as Brian said, DJ Rico in the house. Props for him. You can look him up on Instagram and different places. DJ Rico in the house, always providing great music. And that's my brainchild there.
Hey Rico.
And Brian, we got Brady Buckner here from Please Support the Marshall Plan for Black America. Awesome. Keep the comments coming. Morehouse in the house.
Also, everybody that is online right now with the comments, what we need you to do is amplify New Jobs Form, hashtag New Jobs Form, and hashtag Black and Hired, because that's what we're trying to get accomplished tonight. Okay, or this evening.
Right, amplify. And props, Brian, to I love it when we have our civil servants, our elected officials here. Representative James D. Gilliard, State Rep of North Carolina, General Assembly and Morehouse alum. Thank you, Representative Gaylord. Thanks for being here today. Thank you.
How you doing, Representative Gilliard?
Kate is in the house. Beautiful Mind is in the house. And tweet as well. Tweet, tell your friends. Olivia, thanks for doing that. But tweet out as well. Tag people and use the link.
My beautiful, my little cousin, Sierra Smart, is in the house.
All right.
Hashtags for the New Jobs Forum and the Black and Hot. I see you over there, Sierra. Francis Rutledge, what's happening? Kyle, we have a software developer in the building with him. Okay, so with her, I'm sorry. I'm with you, Kyle.
And Brian Rodney gave a great tip. He said, remind people, this is a great tip. We're not just on this new platform, but start Facebook watch parties. So you can stream and invite your friends to watch with you. Do that now. Facebook watch parties. Share. Amplify.
That's right.
We're going to start in about, 6 minutes, give or take, 4:09 in the vacation capital of New Jersey.
All right, got Monique Weeks in the building. Red Dot, I see you. No problem, bro. We're trying to get it in.
All right.
Woo. I think some questions are going to get answered tonight, Raymond.
I think so, Brian. And I think what's interesting about this group we have, Brian, is that you have a mixture of very young professionals who are interested in college and education and what do I do? Our world is included. And you got it for mature folks who are also here.
I'm with you. Digital OG, I see you back there.
Hey, Rico.
Jayla, I got one of my students in the building. See you in the house. Black and High. How you doing, Jayla? Afro Latino. Told her. Ain't mad at you. Okay, see, we got a lot of people that get busy in here right now. We got a lot of people that get busy. We got the oldest in the house. They came here to network to figure out exactly where the culture is going and to get some answers. And we're about to have them all for us real soon.
And I like how High Beautiful says, not from the U.S., but love the concept. Absolutely. We love all. So come on. Samia is their executive administrator from Cincinnati, Ohio. Powerful. I just love this blend of nonprofit, elected officials, young people, mature people, and people like me and Brian. We all here.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Rico Bella, you about to get part of something with that return of the Mac. Because that's how you feel. That's how you feel.
That's how I'm feeling.
And hey, I'm gonna give a shout out. I'm not gonna do this too much, Brian, but C. Marley says anyone looking for an iOS developer. So hey, better be good at it. I gave you a shout out. iOS developer in the house, C. Marley. YouTube.
Right.
And Francis says, shout out to the designers and creative professionals in here. Francis Rutledge, that is true. That is true. We're going to have a great time tonight. Taya Lambo says, hello, fam. Indeed, hello. You're welcome, C. Marley. And don't forget, everyone, tweet the link. Tweet the link. Do Facebook watch parties. And as Rodney says, amplify. Don't be selfish, right, Brian? And just sit there.
Don't be scared and don't be selfish. See Marley Triple X, I see you out there. Aaron tweeting what's happening. Oh, we having a good time in here. I mean, this is awesome. To be honest with you, Raymond, I have never seen anything like this before. Where you can get a bunch of positive people together, circulating information, having a good time. You got DJ Rico Bevins with the music. You getting the information as well as party going. I'm just fucking building, man. Woo.
It's lit, man. It's lit.
Exactly.
And I must say again, shout out to Rodney Sampson and the OHUB team, producing this, directing it. Trust me and Brian to try to do each and the period. So hey, shout out to the whole team.
Rodney Sampson is the brainchild of this situation, and hey man, it takes people like Rodney to move this culture forward. Without these kind of creative ideas, a lot of people would be sitting in the house looking crazy right now with questions, scared, no solution. But I mean, this is a platform, a fun platform, so you can get involved, get with like minds, and really get up out of that circumstance that you're in right now. Okay, I'm loving it. Thank you, Rodney.
And again, look at the labels on top of our heads here. You see Video One, big part of the Video One. Morehouse College, big part of it. Momentum, big part of it. And of course, Opportunity Hub putting all this together. So it's just an honor. I've always wanted to be kind of like a radio DJ, Brian. I can pretend I am a little bit.
You are one. That's the other thing. That's what I'm teaching my students right now. I told them that the future of radio is podcast. So I mean, on my personal podcast, I do like 1 to about 5 million views a month. That's the reach. And that's kind of strong. You see what I'm saying? So you don't necessarily have to go the traditional way to still broadcast. We doing it. I've done interviews from in my house. We're doing an event from the house right now. This is amazing.
So I can say that Brian said I'm a radio host. I can say that Brian said.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can see me and Brian having a great time today. Thanks to the partnership with RadioOne. My name is Ramon with Smart Hustle, and we're just welcoming you. We're going to start in about a minute or two. We may be a little bit longer because we want to make sure that we get some perfect connections for some of our amazing guests. But we may be 4:15. We aim to start, but maybe 1 or 2 minutes after. We're working through some issues. But me and Brian and DJ Rico, we're having a good time. I'm happy to host my boy Brian.
I'm here for it. I mean, like Raymond just said, we got a few minutes before we get the party started. But hey, we got some excellent guests on deck too, okay? I'm talking about Rodney Sampson, Chairman and CEO of OHUB, Congressman Hank Johnson, he'll be in the building, Dr. Davis Thomas will be in the building, Bishop Joseph Walter will be in the building, DJ Young Guru will be in the building, and tonight Pulliam will be in the building, man. I mean, it's going all the way up.
And Brian and DJ Rico, we got 2 people who did say the music a bit loud. I'm just going to shout out what they said. So DJ, if you hear me, maybe lowered a bit, but I'll leave it to Rodney. What do you, Brian?
Could you cut it down just a tad bit? Okay, that's perfect. Bet.
Thank you so much, Mike, and thank you, Gabby, for telling us to lower the music a bit. Me and Brian were just gabbing, that's all. Now we got to talk to real Brian. You can hear us. But for those who couldn't hear, my name is Ramon Ray here, serving as a host with this amazing forum tonight. RadioOne, Morehouse Momentum, OHUB. Ramon Ray, I'm an entrepreneur myself, started a few businesses, sold a few businesses, wrote a few books, a global speaker, friend of Rodney and the Sampson and Dew and Linden, and honored to serve with Brian. Brian, tell us about yourself and who are you, where you're from, where you're going. What's up with you?
Okay. All right. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised. I graduated from Clark Atlanta University. I got a master's degree from Clark University in strategic communication, MFA for Full Sail for creative writing. I'm also an on-air personality and producer for RadioOne Atlanta on Hot 107.9 here in Atlanta. I've been there for like 15 years. After I graduated from Clark Atlanta, that's where I started. One of my old professors, he recommended me to come back and teach radio at Clark. So I went back to the school and I started teaching the students exactly everything that I learned. Right now, I'm a mass media arts professor at Clark and I'm in the mass media arts department. And I've been doing that for like the last 3 years. And that's one of the most exciting things that I've ever done is actually being able to go back and teach the students everything that I've learned. Like I say right now, it's all about digital. I'm trying to get everybody to make their transformation over into digital because that's where the money is. All of the ad dollars is going into digital. All of the platforms are digital. And I'm also trying to get people to understand that attention is currency now. If people can understand that attention is currency, your podcast can make a lot of money. Your Instagram, your social media, you can make a lot of money off of those businesses as well. I have a business myself called Hot Tower Media. That's for podcasting and consulting and stuff like that. And I've been podcasting probably for like the last 5 or 6 years, but mainly just on YouTube. I haven't done a lot of different streaming websites, but I do a lot of my podcasting off of YouTube. And there I've been able to run a large fan base and stuff like that. And I love it, okay? And that's another one of those things, too. When you have your own business and you know what you're supposed to be doing, nobody can fire you.
That's right. That's right.
Those days are over with.
So, Brian, I got the word that we can start the show. DJ Rico, 10 seconds. We're going to start DJ Rico.
Rico.
We good? We good, DJ Rico? You can do 10 more seconds. Let's do a nice smooth lower.
Again,
no problem.
I can still hear you.
Tell him, Brian. Go ahead.
Okay, in 10 seconds, we're about to get the party started. And Raymond, he's going to open this thing up. So just go ahead and give us a split second, and I'll throw it back to you in a minute.
10, 9, 8, 7, 9. Well, that's all. We can start. We can tell them we'll start now. It's cool. It's cool.
Oh, it's on you, Rico. Let's go.
Oh, we partying?
10 seconds. 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Yeah, for 10, give us a good 10 seconds of partying.
10 seconds.
And then we can open up the forum.
Let's do it. Since we got some, all around, types of folks, I'm gonna just.
Okay, now.
10, 9.
Rico's counting you, Ray's counting you down, Rico. And then when he gets to 1, cut it, and we're going to get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome. New Jobs Forum. Today is May 12th, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I am at. Well, it's a little bit after 4. And on behalf of Rodney Sampson and Dew, Linden, and the whole OHUB team, welcome. We have some amazing partners, and I'm just deliriously excited to be invited here again, despite of me being Ramon a little off kilter sometimes, but happy to also work with Brian, and he's going to do some stuff in a minute. But good afternoon, and I'm the founder, by the way, of Smart Hustle Media, smarthustle.com, and welcome. This is the Momentum Morehouse New Jobs Forum, the Momentum Morehouse New Jobs Forum with RadioOne, Morehouse College, OHUB, and Momentum Learning. Brian, take it away.
Oh, man, Ramon, thank you so much for the introduction. And hey, man, I'm ready to get this party started right now. For those who don't know, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a professor at Clark Atlanta University where I teach mass media arts. I'm also an on-air personality at RadioOne Atlanta on Hot 107.9. People affectionately call me B-High. That's short for Brian Hightower. Okay, don't get it misconstrued. But hey, man, tonight or this evening, it's about to go all the way down. We got plenty of information for you, and we're here to educate, entertain, and inform you, courtesy of RadioOne, Morehouse, Momentum, and OHUB. And right now, this is what's going on. We got Rodney Sampson in the building, the chairman and CEO of OHUB, the guy behind everything that's making this party go Appreciate you for having me, Rodney. Also, we have Congressman Hank Johnson. He'll be in the building of Georgia's 4th Congressional District, United States House of Representatives. Also, we have tonight, this evening, we have Dr. Davis Thomas, president of Morehouse College. We also have Bishop Joseph Walker, international presiding bishop of the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship, and DJ Young Guru. If you don't know about Jay-Z, then you don't know about Young Guru, because he produced and engineered a lot of stuff for him, legendary. And then lastly, but definitely not least, actress, philanthropist, and investor Keshia Knight Pulliam will be in the building as well. It's on you, Ray.
Absolutely, absolutely. What a day it has been. And listen, OHUB has curated some of the leading subject matter experts, so you all are definitely in the right place. Our attendees on the future of work, fourth industrial revolution, artificial intelligence, which is exploding, Brian, as I know you know, machine learning, 5G, and so much more. Tonight, you can hear from some amazing people. That includes Dr. Andre Perry, David M. Rubenstein Fellow, Brookings Institution, and author of Know Your Price, Valuing Black Lives and Property in America's Black Cities. Dr. Perry, we're so happy you're here with us today. Amaka Uchegbu, Chief Product Officer, Upward, formerly of McKinsey & Company. Thank you, Amaka, for joining us today. Shelly Archambault, thank you so much for being with us today as well. CEO, Silicon Valley leader, board member for Verizon, Nordstrom, and Roper Technologies. Okta Inc. advisor to RBC Capital Markets, author, Unapologetically Ambitious, Take Risks, Break Barriers, and Create Success on Your Own Terms. Brian, when I read that kind of book title, I want to jump up and buy 20 books. Timnit Gebru, computer scientist, co-founder, Black in AI and technical co-lead, the ethical artificial intelligence team at Google. Timnit, again, welcome. John McElligott, who I was had a pleasure, Brian, of working with a few times. And this guy is like, man, when he talks, I feel like tweeting and just conquering the world. John is the founder and CEO of York Exponential. We have Koss Dawson, vice president of brand strategy and communication, SoftBank Robotics America. Erica Parks Murray, program manager for Momentum at Morehouse. And Brian, I had the pleasure of working with Erica as a co-host of our previous events as well. Dr. Kenneth Gosha, Hortenius I. Chenault, Endowed Division Chair for Experiential Learning and Interdisciplinary Studies at Morehouse College. Jessica Mitch, who's the co-founder and CEO at Momentum Learning, and Rebecca Conley, lead instructor, Momentum Learning and treasurer of Django Software Foundation. And we're going to have some amazing testimonials. So 4 Black software engineers and coders. Brian, it's going to be an amazing day.
My God. I mean, that lineup right there is powerful. You understand that, right? I'm loving that. And hey, man, right now, we're about to get this party started. We got DJ Rico Valley in the building, a rising senior at Morehouse College. He's about to drop some more vibes on you. And if you're watching with your fam, if you're on Facebook and all of that good stuff, what we need you to do right now is create a watch party, invite your friends in, because nobody needs to miss this information right here. This information can take you from 0 to 100 real quick. You understand that? And in the meantime, if you're tweeting, if you're social media and all that stuff, you got that going on, amplify this program right here with hashtag New Jobs Forum, hashtag Black and Hired across all of your social media platforms. Let's make history, Ramon.
And Brian, I think some people didn't hear you. What are they supposed to do again? Ampla. What's that word? Ampla. What'd you say do?
Oh, we need to amplify this movement that we got going on right now. Okay, we need you to amplify this with hashtag New Jobs Forum and hashtag Black and Hired, because that's what we're trying to get done this evening.
So important. Again, excellent. And again, big ups. Thanks to DJ Rico Velli on the 1s and 2s. He was amazing. And he'll be back, by the way, at the end of the forum to take us up. So if you're just joining us, welcome again. Welcome again to the New Job Forum, powered by RadioOne, Morehouse College, OHUB, and Momentum Learning. Brian, the time we've all been waiting for, floor is yours, brother.
Oh, man. Well, let's get straight to it. Today, there are over 44 million Black American people in this country. And according to McKinsey & Company, Black America will lose 7 million jobs due to COVID-19 and another 4.5 million due to automation. You might be asking, what and why is automation happening? Whose fault is this? What can we as a people do? What are the solutions? Well, that's why we had this situation going on right now with this forum. The Momentum at Morehouse, New Jobs Forum. We're about to get started with it right now, and it's about to go all the way down. It's back on you, Raymond.
Absolutely. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I wish we could stand. I wish we could clap and somebody could hear us. But please join me in welcoming Rodney Sampson, Executive Chairman and CEO, Opportunity Hub, OHUB, Rodney, to give us the opening remarks and set the stage for today's remark. Today's forum is the innovative brainchild of his organization, OHUB, and participating partners, as we've said, at RadioOne, Morehouse College, and Momentum Learning. Rodney Sampson, again, please just wait for 2 seconds, Rodney. Let's all give a virtual clap. And I really mean it. This man, I have seen him work so hard to do all of this, not just today, but over the last several weeks. So Rodney, my brother, big props to you. The floor is yours.
Wow. Well, good afternoon, Ramon, Brian. We just created a thing, right? This was amazing. DJ Rico Vele, he and I have a little inside joke, Ramon. And Ramon, you were there. We believe we really had the first club, OHUB, a week before there was club quarantine. Okay. I'm telling you, when the digital archives are released, history will record that DJ Rico Vele vibed and rocked with Opportunity Hub and our partners for the first Black and Hired conference. We had over 1,100 people. It was our pivot when South by Southwest was canceled due to COVID-19. And I just want to give a shout out at the top of this forum. First and foremost, I appreciate all of the accolades. I appreciate everything. I've often said, because I've learned from great mentors, that next to every great man is an even greater woman. Okay? Not a great man, but a greater woman. And so I want to give a shout out to Shantiria Sampson, my lovely wife of nearly 22 years, who's my partner in business and investing in ecosystem building as well. I want to thank the team that's working behind the scenes today. Lyndon, Breckwich, Indu, Koa, my team of fellows that are aligned with this vision as well. And definitely want to give a major shout out, Brian, to you and the RadioOne family. They've been running the commercials across the networks all for the last week. And then we got on the phone yesterday and said, let's do something quite amazing. We get this, Ramon, we are live streaming on every RadioOne digital property.
That's a big deal, brother. That's a big deal, man.
We just made history, from all the radio stations to Bossip, Black Planet. I didn't even know RadioOne owned Black Planet. And so that's some OG stuff right there. Shout out to Omar Wasso, founder of Black Planet from back in the day. So, well, let me set the stage. And of course, when you think about what's going on in America, and we think about what's going on in the Black community in particular, we wanted to curate a platform that impacted all aspects of Black culture. And so we first aligned with RadioOne so we can reach Black media. Shout out to Kathy Hughes, Alfred Liggins, starting RadioOne. Shout out to the Howard grads out there, always producing the best. But we also wanted to cover all the sectors. And so we had to have HBCUs involved. So we went to our partner at Morehouse College. I'm excited to be a member of the faculty there, and also incredibly excited about the new Momentum at Morehouse Coding Certificate Program as well. We'll hear from Dr. David Thomas briefly. And then, of course, we went to the political community. Policy has always been the precedence, particularly for Black people in America. Whenever you have Black people that have experienced any type of upward mobility, it's been because of policy. But we also know that there have been policies that have withheld us back as well. And so when you have men and women on the front lines at the highest levels, like a Congressman Hank Johnson, I'm honored for him to be a part of this. And so allowing us to reach into that world as well. And then, of course, you can't talk about Black America without talking about the Black church. And so I grew up in the Black church. I'm a product of the Black church, unapologetically about the Black church. And so I'm honored to have my brother and colleague, Bishop Joseph Walker, who will be with us shortly. He's the international presiding bishop of the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship International, one of the top 12 fellowships and denominations in Black America. And so we're outreaching through the Black church. And of course, Brian, you can appreciate this. Culture helps us communicate, right? And so I reached out to my good friend and brother, Young Guru, super producer, engineer, and said, Guru, I need you. I know you've been in the lab producing all that great music, that COVID-19 great music that's been dropping with Jay-Z and Beyonce, but I need you to come lend your voice to this respective platform. So I said, you got to step away from Savage for a minute and come over to the same for a second. So Guru, I'm excited for you to be on as well. And then, of course, we wanted to reach further into film and entertainment, and definitely honored to have the iconic actress, philanthropist, and investor Keshia Pulliam as well. To everyone that is participating and serving today in a public speaking role, taking time out of your personal work, your personal life. We're all in this pandemic. It's not like one part. It's not like Ramon spoke in it and we're not in it, right? Well, Brian, y'all over there, we literally are all living through this together right now. And honestly, I believe as some of the young folks said, hashtag we all we got. We absolutely are all we got. So I just want to give a shout out up front so that we can get down to business and get down to work. For all of the people that are on here right now, I want to encourage you on Facebook, start a watch party. We can go viral very quickly if the 1,000+ people who registered for this summit would just go start a Facebook watch party right now. And if 10 of your friends and 20 of your frenemies, you know, your frenemies look at you closer than your friends, right? Right, Brian? If your frenemies get on and then your coworkers, we might reach a ton of people. So with all due respect, I want to say thank you from the OHUB team. And you know what? Let's make history. Thank you. Back to you, Ramon, Brian. Let's do it.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
How you feel, Brian? That was like powerful, man. Like you want to go to church. I mean,
exactly. I'm ready to go now. I am ready to go. You understand that?
And Brian, I know you got comments. I just want to remind people over and over again. Don't forget, tweet, share, amplify. Sorry about that, Brian. Go ahead, brother.
No, that is awesome right there. Now, in total agreement with that right now. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, first of all, we got a lineup of people that you just definitely do not want to miss. When you talk about knowledge and experience and expertise and just power and influence, we have all of that in the building right now. So, I mean, you really need to be having a watch party and you really need to be reaching out to people to get them in here because they don't want to miss this information right here. Okay. So now we're about to get the party started, though. It's time to go straight over there to Congressman Hank Johnson. He's in the building. Can we bring him up?
Absolutely. What an honor it is indeed. I mean, it's just amazing again, Brian, as he's coming up. Mm-hmm. As I've said, it's just amazing to have our elected officials that we sometimes from a distance, you know, we all have our regular 9 to 5 jobs, as it were. But I think that, you know, some people don't. But my point being is that elected officials, it's a special place. It's a work that's just different that many of us don't get a chance to experience. So I think that I think it's powerful. So I'm excited to hear his comments and his long years of working with us and supporting the community and all of America. But I think that's what I find because, you know, I've been to Congress, Brian, about 2 years ago. I testified to Congress. And for me, it was just an honor just to be in the building. So it's amazing to have Congressman here with us. And I know he's a very busy man, but he would lend some time to us and share. It's powerful. It's powerful.
I'm ready for it.
What about yourself, Brian? Have you? How often? I know you you rub shoulders with all kind of important people like Rodney does. But what about yourself, Brian? What's been your experience? Have you been around a lot of elected officials, or what's been your experience like?
I've had a lot of different elected officials and like influencers. I bring them down to my classroom as much as I possibly can, because what I want to do, I want to get them to be able to press the flesh with the students. I feel like the students and just people in general, they need a point of reference for success. So if we can give them that point of reference, that can take them exactly the way it is that they need to go. Those points of references, we have them lined up this evening. I tell you that. Right. We have some excellent points of references. Okay, so right. Mm-hmm.
No, I said absolutely. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So I'm excited about that as well. And in the meantime, I'm just thinking to myself, digital, coding, software developing, all of this different stuff. First of all, you know, I had been reading that a lot of African Americans were not getting the opportunity to get into those fields and didn't even realize that they really needed to be, you know, directing themselves towards STEM. So it's good to know that we have, you know, movements like this to encourage people to go to where the money's going to be at. How about that? Let's get people towards where the money is.
Absolutely. And I think that what it is, again, I'm not a, you know, anthropologist or well-versed as I should be, as Rodney and many other team are, but I think that from my perspective, just, you know, I think that also, even though slavery's been over for a long time, but you had the segregation, Jim Crow laws, I think that has hurt a lot of it. And again, this is not a poor me thing. My point is that I think many of our parents are still like, what? You're not going to be an accountant, a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, something worthy? What's this AI thing, boy? I'm not wasting my money. So I think that still in the Black and brown community is some of that. It's lessening, but I think that that's still historically, I find, even my own son, he's a freelancer. He builds online courses, but some people in our community like, oh, he doesn't have a job. I'm like, he's got a job. He's doing fine. He's just the tech, you know, that's what I find.
Tech has really weaseled its way into every industry. Okay, no longer can you have an industry without tech. Okay, you go to the grocery store, automation is occurring. Right. In radio, automation is occurring. In delivery systems and regular logistics, automation is what's happening, and that is the future. So it is important and imperative for us to get in front of this and get ahead of this to let people know exactly where they need to be going. And then also where the opportunities are. These are opportunities for entrepreneurship on a whole nother different level. Okay. The first person to go in there and learn, teach everybody else, and it's good to go.
Cool. So Brian, why don't you give one more, I was going to say, Rodney, have Brian introduce the Congressman one more time, but Rodney, you want to take it? You want to take that lead? Absolutely.
Well, I'm really excited to bring the United States House of Representatives representative from Georgia's 4th Congressional District, the Honorable Hank Johnson. Congressman, are you there?
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Indeed.
I'm standing by. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank everyone. Well, thank everyone for what you're doing on this very important and very prescient call. I want to introduce myself to your audience. I'm Congressman Hank Johnson. I represent Georgia's 4th Congressional District, which includes most of DeKalb County, all of Rockdale County, 1/2 of Newton County, and part of Gwinnett County, all of which is in the eastern suburbs of Atlanta. And I'm pleased to be with all of you today, and I thank all of you for inviting me to speak during the New Jobs Forum powered by RadioOne, Morehouse College, OHUB, and Momentum. I can't think of a better team, RadioOne, Morehouse College, OHUB, and Momentum, to bring us together in a forward-thinking way to discuss economics, the 21st century global economy, America's niche in that global economy, and the jobs of the future, and how and what we need to be doing to position ourselves as a people for the future, which is already upon us. I also want to give a special shout out to Opportunity Hub CEO Rodney Sampson for the continuous and tremendous work he's doing to help minorities develop and identify tech hubs, entrepreneurship startups, venture systems, and technology careers, while also creating a space for these folks to receive tech education and training from members of our community. And I also want to thank all of our guest speakers who bring their talents and expertise to this remarkable event. Actor and philanthropist and investor Keshia Pulliam, Bishop Joseph Walker, Morehouse President Dr. David Thomas, music producer Young Guru, real estate guru Jay Morrison, and of course, Mr. Sampson, a giant of a forward-thinking entrepreneur. I also want to recognize my colleagues, Ramon Ray and Brian Hightower on the line today and on this call. Thank you all for what you do. Last year, Forbes featured an article by McKinsey and Company, and you talked about it earlier, Brian. It was titled "The Future of Work in Black America." McKinsey predicts that 39% of all jobs held by Black workers, totaling 7 million, are now vulnerable to temporary or permanent disruption because of the coronavirus. We've actually lost 30 million jobs in this country over the last 5 weeks. Unemployment rate is like above 20%. And when things bottom out and start to go back up, we will probably be at a 10% unemployment rate in this country. And we'll be fortunate if we're at 10% at the end of the year, down from 20% or up from 20%, however you want to look at it. But a lot of those jobs are not going to come back. A lot of those jobs, a lot of those people in those jobs will be left jobless. Black people in America have to work outside of their homes today in service-related jobs, many of them. And that's putting a lot of people on the front lines, and they are at a higher risk for infection. So educational forums like this one today will help us discuss and implement ways for Black America to secure better jobs, gain job security, increase our pay, increase our benefits, take us off the front lines, and increase our wages when we need to take an opportunity to make some money to raise our kids and bring our families up so that they can have a better life than we've had. It's been predicted that 4.5 million jobs will be lost due to automation. That means that one day equipment, technology, and process innovations will replace manual labor. We must face the possibility that Black America, if not prepared, would have the highest job displacement out of all of the demographics in our society. By continuing to look the other way from the trends in how things are going and in how non-tech jobs are being replaced, we will miss any chance to build true generational wealth and any income equality amongst our people. So it's important that we be attuned to what's happening right now and start preparing ourselves and our children for the future. The numbers shine a light on some harsh realities in our community, and they show us that we must stay proactive in educating Black people on where we are today and where our focus needs to be to create skilled workers in the technology fields for the future. That is America's niche in this global economy. No one will save us but us. Let us make sure today that beginning today, we'll be ready for tomorrow and the world of technology. So I hope you have a fruitful and productive forum, and I look forward to seeing hundreds of tech entrepreneurs coming out of this effort. You're building our future brick by brick, or should I say line by line in the world of code. So thank y'all very much, and I'm going to sign off. I've got to get on another call, but I wish y'all great success with this one, and let's make some millionaires and some billionaires out there. Thank you.
That's
Congressman
right.
Johnson, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your dedicated work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rodney, that was amazing. And thank you, Rodney, for enabling people like Congressman Johnson. We got speakers like this all day long for the next several hours. So thank you. We will move forward. And again, I'd like to bring on, and please join me, everyone, in welcoming Dr. David Thomas, the 12th president of Morehouse College, our partner in today's Momentum at Morehouse New Jobs Forum. Dr. Thomas, we are so glad to have you with us today. And thanks for joining us. I know he's going to come on very soon. It's amazing how I think that when I think, Brian, of the speakers who are here sharing with us, and as I told you when we were in the green room at DJ Rico, how we were talking about, hey, Dr. Thomas, welcome so much. We were talking about the blend of young people and older people. Dr. David Thomas, thank you so much for joining us today. We are honored to have you with us and hear your insights and comments for us. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Ramon, Brian, Rodney. This is terrific that you guys are making this happen. Also want to acknowledge my favorite DJ, Rico Velli, a man of Morehouse, who's going to rock this tonight. This forum that you've created virtually and invited the world community to is critically important as a catalyst for a conversation that we need to have continually in our community. And not just in settings like this virtually, but even the conversations to what you were saying, Ramon, about the conversations we have with our kids at the dinner table about where is the future. And I know when I grew up, you're absolutely right. It was a doctor or a lawyer. And, you know, my mother, it took her 20 years to understand what I actually did when I told her I wasn't going to be a doctor or a lawyer when I was finishing college. But this is, this dialogue and understanding is important. Some people talk about it in terms of the survival of our community economically. I like to talk about it in terms of the vitality of our community. We have to move beyond simply thinking about survival to think about what does it mean to thrive. And when you put it in that context, focusing on where are the jobs of the future? Where are they now? Where will they be? And understanding that many of those jobs we actually can't see today. Labor economists will tell you that 50% of the jobs that exist today are going to go away over the course of the next 20 years, and new jobs will come. And the question becomes, how do we equip our this generation of young people who will grow into those jobs to be prepared for them? Now, that's been happening before we reach this moment of, or what I call this COVID moment. And what this COVID moment has done is speed everything up and made very clear some of the things that we've talked about that sounded theoretical to people. This moment will be followed and accompanied by a deep recession. It will reveal the depth of the gap in the economic vitality of Black and brown communities versus majority white communities. We also see it in the way in which disproportionately this virus is impacting Black and brown communities. And part of that is driven by the fact that we are in the low-skilled jobs that are the front line for the, if you will, and I don't mean this to downgrade the importance of the jobs, but there's certain work in our society that's seen as the dirty work. Being an orderly, being that person who takes someone off that gurney to put them in the bed in the hospital, attending to people who are in assisted living facilities. We don't think of that as high status work. We're overrepresented in that work. I think that's part of why this virus has been disproportionately brought back to our communities as people come home from work who are doing that work. It also is revealing the critical importance of technology in solving the world's problems. If we look at or we listen closely to all the conversation about how we're going to get on top of this virus, and we look at the speed with which things are moving to create vaccines and other things, the software for it all is driven by technology. I mean, even just the other day, I was watching on television and someone is developing an app with a sensor that you can put on your phone, and it'll be able to diagnose whether or not you have been exposed to or have the COVID virus, and then allow you to put into it who you've been associated with. And if you're willing to put in your locator information and other people have their locator information available, they'll locate everybody you've been in touch with. That's all driven by an understanding about technology, and in particular, software and software engineering. So how does this relate to us at Morehouse? And it's been interesting to be in my position and watch what's been happening in the world and have to help my 2,200 students, 500 faculty and staff cope in this environment, because Morehouse is 153 years old, born out of the worst moment in this nation's history, in my view, which is slavery. And for that 153 years, we have defied gravity by creating young men who go off to provide leadership and service to the world in every profession, and in particular in STEM professions. And we're the #1 producer of Black men with PhDs in STEM-related fields, especially computer science. And we were fortunate in that with the leadership of Kenneth Keshia, professor here at Morehouse College, who I think you'll be hearing from, or he'll be participating a bit later, we had developed a software engineering major. What we've moved to with the collaboration of OHUB, thank you, Rodney Sampson, Momentum, is we're going to launch May 26th a collaborative effort, a Momentum Morehouse program, that a 12-week intensive program, some people would call it a camp, that will certify individuals in the basic skills of software development, which will create a platform for them to become software engineers. That program is designed for adult learners of all ages, at all levels of education. So people who may already have their degrees, but are now looking at the fact that they've got some content knowledge, but if they understand this world of software development and coding, they can develop new and more impactful ways of utilizing that knowledge, sharing it with the world, and creating value. And that program will be online. It will also be accompanied by career guidance and supports to help people identify the opportunities on the other side as they leave. And I think it's important that this is an effort anchored in this collaboration, and that the educational anchor in it is a historically Black college like Morehouse. And hopefully that will add to the attraction of this to individuals in our community. And for us, it aligns with our mission of leadership and service through the development of disciplined minds and a deep understanding of the importance of critical thinking and the desire to make a difference in the world. So that's the way I'm looking at this from the seat that I have here on this 66-acre campus on the highest hill in Atlanta, Georgia. So I want to thank you guys for just giving me an opportunity to talk about the program and talk about the way I see this COVID moment, as I refer to it. And out of it, if we engage in dialogues like this one, I think we can emerge stronger as a community out of this adversity in the way that our community has evolved out of almost every challenging moment of this nation's history, starting with the moment of slavery.
Wow.
Thank you.
Dr. Thomas, thank you so much. And definitely on behalf of Rodney Sampson and Opportunity Hub and RadioOne and the whole team, we are grateful for your time today. Thanks for joining us, sharing your wisdom. And I know the chat is lighting up. People are grateful as well. And I think the advice from yourself is amazing. So we are grateful for your time and taking the time to be with us, sir. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Have a great party.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
So the show goes on with my co-host Brian. Woo. And again, as Rodney Sampson has said at least 457 times, maybe 458 times, amplify, share, do watch parties, tweet, and use the hashtag. So we'll move on with our amazing session today. And I'm really honored. Again, me being here, I'm just honored to be here with the amazing knowledge and wisdom we are getting today. And I'm very excited to welcome the iconic Keshia Knight Pulliam, actress, philanthropist, and now venture capitalist to the Momentum at Morehouse New Jobs Forum. Keshia, we're honored to have you with us. We're honored to hear what you're going to say, what you're going to share. And I think what I've heard, Brian, what's going on today is inspiration, practical knowledge, insights from people who've lived it, been there, done that. Brian, is that what you're feeling?
This is a real party. Okay, if you're trying to party, this is where you need to be at. A party with a purpose. Okay, you're learning something. I mean, the stuff that we've heard so far has kind of motivated me to get into the technological field. Okay, and I'm not even Mr. Technology myself, but I'm about to figure it out. Okay, right. And my kids will definitely understand what's going on with it as well.
Especially, so I bet when he said that word billionaire with a B, I felt your eyebrow perk up a bit. You went like this a little bit. Like.
Billionaire. Exactly. But I mean, this is exciting to me. I'm sorry, y'all. Every time that I get involved in these kind of events where I see that the energy is great, people are learning, and a lot of people are getting these aha moments at the same time. This is just awesome.
Absolutely, for sure. And I think that, no, for sure. And I think that, again, to those listening, I can see, again, keep the comments coming. We see those comments. So again, to Shan, to Roz, to Miguel, to Frank, and so many others, I think that what I'm hearing, Brian, is that, again, this is why I'm amazed to be part of Opportunity Hub, because and steeped into small business, which are often older. But I have to keep saying, to seeing the young people come out, the professionals come out, either some are in still college, some are recently graduated, and then spanning. We have people here listening to us, Brian, from those who are in the middle of their careers. And we have senior people, mature people, as it were, I say respectfully, like the Congressman, like Dr. Thomas, who have years and decades of experience. So I think this is a party, but what wisdom we are getting from this expertise and experience, I see.
I'm excited. Rodney, were you about to get in here?
Yeah, I've been sitting back. Ramon, you plan events, and Brian, I know you all plan events as well. When you put it on paper, you have these ideation, these design thinking. You're like, if I could get this person, if I could get that person. And the good thing about, if there's some good things that come out of this pandemic is that everyone's available. Everyone is available. And so, I mean, think about it. We were able to get Keshia Knight Pulliam to come on and give us some remarks.
Rodney, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me, Keshia, okay?
I can hear you. I can't hear anything that Rodney said.
Well, let me tell you what Rodney said. Rodney said he's happy you're here. He said he's honored to have you. He said he's just over the moon excited, but that's okay. Miss Keshia Knight Pulliam, thank you for being with us today, and the floor is yours. Honored to have you with us today. The floor is yours.
thank you for having me. I'm sad that I haven't heard everything that's been discussed, but ultimately, of course, this is something that I wanted to support and be a part of as a Spelman graduate, and having two brothers who are graduates of Morehouse College. I believe in the HBCU experience, but more than anything, I believe in paying it forward and pouring back into our community. So I think these things like this are very, very important. One of the last things that I heard the last speaker say is, we've always thrived. We've been through every adversity known. And one of the things about our people is that we know how to make something out of nothing. And this is no different. So don't look at this. It's all about your perspective. It's all about how you approach the situation. Yes, COVID has been devastating if you look at the broad spectrum on many levels, but this is also an opportunity. It's an opportunity to reset. It's an opportunity to get very clear about your desires, about your vision, about, what sit back and to plan. What are your next steps? What are you going to do moving forward? And more than anything, it's about pivoting. And as an entrepreneur, it's really important, and I hope people have seen through this experience, about diversifying. That is the biggest piece of this. You cannot have one stream of revenue. You cannot have, one thing that you are doing. I'm not saying to be, a jack of all trades and a master of none, but you do have to have, different things that you are doing to bring to the table. For me, I've been, in business my entire life. I've been an actress since I was 9 months old. And it's funny because a lot of people separate the two. They hear entertainment, but not the business piece of it. So something behind the scenes is that in order to be successful and have a longevity in any career, you have to also learn the business aspect and the business piece of things. So that's been something that, over the years, that's why people are like, oh my goodness, with being entertainment and being in front of the camera since I was 9 months old, they're like, well, why did you go to school? Why did you even stop? Why did you go to Spelman? You already had money. You already had this. You already had that. But I feel like it was a very, very important part of my development and my growth as a human being, is my growth as a woman, my growth as an entrepreneur, as an activist, as a philanthropist, as a businesswoman, as all of those different things. So it's never too late, no matter how much quote unquote success that you've achieved, to go and learn a new skill set, to go and, network and make different opportunities. And a lot of the HBCU experience is just that. It's the people that you meet, it's the networking, and coming back and supporting one another. So, even when moving from, of course, I'm continuing to act. I just had a project on Lifetime, House of Pain, which Tyler Perry, I've starred on for a number of years, is coming back to BET this year. I have Keshia's Kitchen, my spice line, and I just launched Peaches and Lola, my children's clothing line, this weekend during Mother's Day. But we also have a venture capital fund, the Fearless Fund, that I started with another HBCU alum, one of my best girlfriends, a soror, Arian Simone, and now Ayana is also a general partner of our fund. And then it came full circle, randomly, just how small the world is. Arian met Rodney, I believe it was like on a plane ride or something. Am I correct, Rodney? You and Arian? And then he's come now to be an advisor for our fund. What we knew is we wanted to solve a problem. We saw that, it wasn't a founding issue, it was a funding issue with women of color in their businesses. Because we haven't, historically had that help, we bootstrapped our way. And we have not tapped into the whole venture capital investor pool. But a piece of that is also that the investors are 80% white men. So they invest in businesses and people who look like them. So in order for us to do something different and see something different, we had to be a part of the solution. So that's how the Fearless Fund came about. It was really just us coming together, seeing a need and being like, we can do that. But in doing that, we have made sure that we surrounded ourselves with the best of the best and also garnered the knowledge for ourselves. So we've learned in the trenches about what it is to be a VC fund. Made sure that we got an amazing securities attorney because we are SEC regulated and no one needs those problems. So, surrounding ourselves with people like Rodney, I feel like one of the best things I can say is you have to be very confident in what you do know and what your strengths are, but also very, very confident in what you don't know. Because if you don't know what you don't know, you don't know it. So you have to make sure that you surround yourself with people who do know it, who can teach you, who can guide you, and that you all have a vested interest in the success of whatever it is that you're doing. So that's why when Rodney gave me a call and was like, hey, we're doing this, I was like, okay, well, what do you need from me? And that's how it works. It's that simple. In the same way, if, I need something from Rodney, I can call and be like, hey, I need this. Can you help me? And it's reciprocal. It's about the synergy of it all and ensuring that you come from a place of abundance and knowing that there's more than enough for everyone. So often we operate from the space of, there not being enough. And, if this person's succeeding, then that's taking away from the success that in some way I can have. And that's just not the spirit in which I operate in anything that I do. And I know that I continue to be blessed because of it. And we as a people need to get back to that space of understanding that we are only as successful and amazing and just all of those things as our lowest hanging member. So we have to ensure that we lift each other up and lift and pull each other up as we climb so that we can elevate ourselves as a group, as a race, as a collective, because ultimately that's really what it's about. I can't hear y'all, so I'm trying not to.
You're on mute, Brian. It's on you. Keshia, wow. I wanted to tweet. Hashtag. Thank you. But Brian, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you so much, Keshia.
Thank you for having me.
That was awesome. All right, coming up next to the stage, Bishop Joseph Walker. He's about to come in here. Now, a lot of us, when it comes to getting the word, we got to get it from the man himself. Okay, how you doing today, Bishop?
Hey, Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome. For those that don't know, we got to welcome him in here. Bishop Joseph Walker, International Presiding Bishop of the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship International. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming in here today.
Thank you so much, man. This has been amazing. Thank you, Ramon. Great, man. Great. And of course, my brother, my friend, Rodney, this is amazing. And thank you for what you're doing, man. I think OHUB is touching the world. I'm just honored to be a part of this. I just want to say really quickly, I recognize the unique position the church is in helping to further this conversation. As a leader, as a faith leader, one of the things that we've tried to do here in Nashville at our church at Mount Zion, we've developed what's called Entre School. And Entre School is an opportunity to really develop and inspire young people toward entrepreneurship and to partner them with folks who are doing it in mentorship at high levels. The church can no longer divorce itself from the stark reality that technology and innovation is here. All of us now, the playing field has been leveled. We are forced now into technology, whether we want to be or not. Our survival is in that, and we've got a lot of opportunities now. I think, and I believe strongly, that in crisis, that's where creativity is birthed. I believe that is absolutely now. Heard, Brian, you talk about people understanding that so many opportunities and jobs right now that can be created. I believe, and of course, Ramon, I've read your books, you're amazing. I believe now the entrepreneurial spirit should really come to the forefront, and churches should push folks into this area. We've got to get out of the old model, the cookie cutter model of success, and realize that the wave of the future is innovation and technology, and the future belongs to those who are open to positive change. So I'm incredibly excited as a faith leader to say that, we're sharing with all of our churches worldwide in the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship the importance of this area. We recognize that coronavirus has affected so many folks, and now they're going to have to reimagine their own personal economies, their own personal future in terms of entrepreneurship and carving out dreams and spaces where they can actually make those things come to fruition. We're supporting them, not only just in word, but in deed, and also even financially, setting aside budget to help folks get started in these particular areas. And so I'm excited about this. I hope the conversation will continue to include the Black church, because finally, all of these great movements, as we know, began in the Black church. It has always been the galvanizing place where resources were shared, and we're just a part of the solution. We want to be a place where resources are brought to people, and we can bring people to resources. So thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm just sitting back like, you're right. This is the party of parties, because this is where the rubber meets the road, man. Let's get these folks employed. Let's do it. Thank you.
I know that's right. Thank you so much, Bishop. We really appreciate you for coming through here and sharing your words of wisdom with us this evening.
Thanks, bro.
Absolutely. No, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Are we still rolling, or what are we doing, fellas? How y'all feeling?
Absolutely.
We're coming up
amazing, next. Brian. Amazing. Off the chain. I'm tingling, man. I'm tingling. It's going good.
This is one of the best events that I've been a part of in the last 5 years, fellas. I'm not going to lie to you. When I think about getting together for a purpose and just really pushing the culture forward, that's one of the main things that I love to do when it comes to using platforms and things of that nature to really have stuff for the community that keeps it balanced, okay? Because we can put the party on the people, but the purpose is, you know, not always there when it comes to the messages that we promote. So with Momentum and OHUB, RadioOne and Morehouse coming together to put this out, I mean, I think it's a blessing. I'm going to just keep it real. I think it's a blessing to the people, and definitely to me myself. Shoot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Carry us on, Brian. What's next?
All right. Coming up next to the stage, we got DJ Young Guru in here. Okay. Now, y'all may have heard of Jay-Z. Well, this is the man behind the sound. He gets busy. There's probably nobody in this world that has not heard what this man's fingers and ears have touched. Welcome to the building, Young Guru. How you doing, man?
I appreciate you. Can you hear me fine?
Hear you loud and clear.
Yes, sir. I'm so excited to be here. I want to thank everybody from RadioOne to my Morehouse people, even though I represent that great HU, Howard University in the building, Momentum, and especially OHUB with Rodney. You know, the previous speakers have done a lot in terms of talking about the percentages, where we're going as a people. But I think my and Rodney's relationship is a perfect example of why we need this. Rodney brought me down to the functions that he does at South by Southwest because we know he's been working with our youth, especially those at our HBCUs. It started out as me explaining my career and my journey and how technology helped me from going from recording and having that experience of making records with tape, and then technology moving to a point where we started using computers. And that was something that really got me ahead of the rest of the people, should I say, in the New York City area, because I was drawn to technology. That example of being ahead of the curve was something that we can see that's exemplified now. You know, as a DJ, you know, moving from vinyl to actually going into the computer. And then now, because of the situation that we're in, all of my DJ friends are now asking, how do they work OBS? How do I work open broadcast system? Because now I need to broadcast to the world through whatever medium that I choose. So we see again and again how technology is pushing forward what we need to do, not only just in terms of jobs, but in terms of just complete understanding of that area. So, you know, again, I just want to thank Rodney for all of the things that he's done. And I just wanted to get more involved with it. So again, me being the perfect person who sometimes we as a people don't understand certain things and don't understand certain language, and we get turned off because of that. But Rodney was beautiful enough to sit down and explain to me and take the time, because I have no problem or no shame saying I don't know something. It's sort of what Keshia said about if you don't know, just say you don't know and have somebody inform you. So Rodney was the person, and OHUB were the people that when I came in and asked questions about, okay, well, what is it that our people need? Why is it that, you know, we're teaching these classes at our traditional Black schools, but our people are disproportionate in terms of the jobs that they're creating, right? And Rodney was good at explaining the things that we needed, like having accelerators or even understanding what those incubators are, about the fact that our children are not only just getting the education, but we need these incubators. We need these spaces where they can then come. And it's not only just for education, but it's also for the connections. These other people are going into incubators and being connected with the world that we are trying to get our children into. This is the reason why OHUB is setting up these incubators. This is the reason why Rodney and I are talking. How many cities do we know? I live in North New Jersey. There's plenty of abandoned buildings there. We need to talk to our mayor. My mayor is Raz Baraka, very good friend of mine. Let's go talk about getting some of those abandoned buildings so that we can then create our own incubators and put our own children in those spaces. You know, we're very good at explaining, again, the difference between startups and small businesses. Rodney is great at that. OHUB is great at that. Understanding the language of startup. When I first got in, I was a little intimidated about not understanding all of the language and understanding what it is, or all of the rounds of when you go through a funding, and what is seed funding, and what are all these terms. So I had to sit down and learn these specific terms. So I think I'm a great example of teaching an old dog new tricks. We're concentrating on our youth. We're concentrating on those that are in the college platform or graduating, but we also have to recognize that their parents may have to pivot in this particular time. The job that they, planned for or thought that they were going to put 30 years into may not be there, especially after what we're going through now. So this is the perfect time for our older people to sit down and learn this skill as well. You may not be thinking in that way, but you can still be 45, 50 years old, 60 years old, and still get this information, not only to help teach your children, but to create simple things like apps for people, for things that are of our age group. So I want to reinforce that and make sure that this is not only just for our youth, and it is because we think about our next generation and where we want our next group of millionaires and billionaires to come from, but it's also a pivoting point for those that are parents, for those that need to find new jobs. We just gave away all the information about the percentages of how many people are losing jobs. So I want people to look at this in that same instance, in that same light. And I also want to bring out that we need to be concerned now about creating our own platforms. And what I mean by that is I'm watching a lot of people feed other platforms that are generating money off of our existence. What our brother D Nice is doing and what we all are doing with the Club Quarantine and all that, they're beautiful, but I would love to see that on a platform that we created. Something like our brother who we celebrate, who created Play VS, Delane Purnell. He's one of the people that Rodney has spoken to a lot of our students, and using that as an example to see how not only can we be the programmers, but we can also create the platforms and how that success looks.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that information, Guru. Now, absolutely. I do have a quick question for you, though. How do you feel like streaming has impacted the music industry versus the old school hand-to-hand combat with the hard copies?
Absolutely. So when streaming came in, and I'll tell you a story that I normally tell, I was one of those that was there in Def Jam working when this thing sort of hit us, and the new business model and the new form of the way that we distributed music got interrupted by the internet. We took the wrong approach because we tried to sue our way out of it. So we went at Napster and said, let us sue, not really understanding how technology works, right? The first thing we learn is that if a big company sees a problem or sees a hole, they tend to buy that company, right? This is the way that technology works because you've shown a hole in what they do. So we were remiss in understanding just that very fact of how tech works, because we were focused on selling a physical thing, not understanding what we were selling was actually the vibration. The medium at which that vibration gets to you is going to always change. But we needed to be big enough to say, okay, why don't we create our own platform? I said this to the higher ups and people just didn't get it. So now streaming is here, and streaming is showing us the value of what we have as the music is the intellectual property, not just the medium in which that gets out. Streaming has completely changed the way that my industry works, and it's still changing. But again, this is when engineers perk up, because this is the opportunity for us to create something beautiful. This has never existed. Our children have the opportunity to create something that we have never seen. That is, again, reinforcing, and I'm taking these things that we say as quotations and putting them into real world experience when we say there's a large percentage of jobs for our children and grandchildren that do not exist yet. But we need to be ready for them. We need to know how to pivot. When we get into these situations of, okay, now everyone is forced to be home and I need to learn this technical thing in order for me to continue with my business, we got to already be there. We have to already be there. This is what OHUB has been warning us about for years. We need to already be there. That is what the blessing of what Rodney does and the blessing of what OHUB does. And I'm just glad that it's on this type of forum. Thank you to RadioOne for putting this out, because we have been trying to get this message out for so long. And now I think people see the dire times that we're in. Tech is what is going to get us out of this. And not just regular tech, because I'm probably the A. Sometimes we say STEAM, sometimes we say STEM, right? So I'm probably the A inside of the STEM, but it's for us to see how science technology moves along with not only just our technical jobs, but everything in the world, our entertainment, our arts, all of that is connected to some sort of technical job.
Excellent. Thank you so much, young guru. We really appreciate you coming through here this evening, man.
Absolutely. Thank y'all so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Guru.
My brother.
Indeed. All right. Very good. Wow. Once again, thank you to all of our co-chairs. Wow. We asked for remarks. I'm grateful we got a TED Talk out of everybody. That'll go. We appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We're going to make up a little time in this next session. And I've asked my brother, Andre Perry, to join us. And I'm incredibly excited about what he's doing and his new book. And of course, we also have Amaka Yachukuba. Did I get that right? I just flowed with it.
You checked, boo. It was kind of close.
Absolutely. Welcome to the Jobs Forum. And so we're going to jump right in. That's the thing about technology, and OHUB has always been what we call early adopters, right? So we are definitely excited about the platform that we're on. If you are watching us on Facebook, this is an excellent opportunity for you to go and start a watch party. Ain't nothing like an OHUB party because an OHUB party won't stop, right? Ain't nothing like a Brookings party because a Brookings party won't stop.
That's right.
So with that, I'd like to welcome Andre Perry of Brookings and Amaka Yachukuba, formerly of McKinsey & Company. Welcome to the New Jobs Forum.
Thanks for having us.
Excellent. So let's jump right in. We prefaced this conversation with some of the alarming statistics and data respective to what's going on in the Black community as it relates to automation and what it relates now with COVID-19 and this accelerated pace to the future. Amaka, I wanted you to join us to speak about the research that we're quoting your research. And so I wanted to have the person who actually helped to create that research, Andre, to join us. Because a lot of times people hear us throw out numbers and say things, they're like, yeah, you're just talking. But when you bring the source, it becomes undisputed. So would you give us sort of your new contextual lens around the data since COVID-19 literally landed on this planet?
Yeah. So what McKinsey has paid a lot of attention to, just giving you the broader landscape, is the impact of automation on various groups, and in particular on the African American community. In steady state, don't even think of COVID, don't think of any of the craziness that's happened over the past 2 or 3 months. But the Black community have been really positioned to be the losers of the technological advances of the future, as opposed to being able to benefit from it. Obviously, as automation happens, people lose jobs. That's true. And also jobs get gained. However, within the Black community specifically, we're actually seeing that we're losing more jobs than we are able to benefit from in terms of job growth. So that is the context without COVID. But then with the additional lens that COVID has brought, with the impacts that it has had on things such as the postal service, the impact it's had on grocery stores, the fact that a lot of retail outlets have closed, it just meant that a lot of the jobs that Black folk already are concentrated in are having an accelerated speed in which they're actually going to see those displacements. So just to kind of give the backdrop, when we modeled the impact of automation, we assumed the most conservative situation. All of the technology that already exists today still existed, what would happen? However, COVID has really accelerated the adoption of technology to the detriment of Black folks, given the types of jobs a lot of us have, and basically what is happening to those jobs with issues around social distancing and actual in-person commerce. So that's just like a really high-level overview of exactly how these shifts were going and how they've been accelerated.
Thank you for that. Andre, from your perspective and lens, particularly as we Black people in America Africans in America to know your price, first we want to know the data. I'm curious to know if you have any interesting kind of collision points between Amaka's data and some of the research that you've been doing at the Brookings Institution as well.
Yeah, I think first of all, I want to say thank you for this effort. This is a tremendous effort in terms of mobilizing the Black community. We need more of this at this time. I want to send condolences to all those who've lost their lives. A lot of people are making tough choices between working and living, and we should not have to make those kind of choices. First of all, I also just want to say that the reason why we are disproportionately in certain occupations and in certain roles is because we've been limited in others. This goes back to decades of generations of economic and discrimination. A lot of my work looks at those structures that force us in to precarious positions. It's not by coincidence that Black businesses are overrepresented in the healthcare industry, in industries that in which they are on the front line. So barbershops, salons. This is a structural problem. Certainly, we appreciate all the business owners and folks involved in commerce in the range of services that they present themselves. But we have been limited by the structures that we're afforded. So I'll just give an example. A lot of my research hinges on housing inequality. I did a study in which I measured the home prices in Black neighborhoods and measured them against those in white neighborhoods. And I controlled for all of those factors they say are the reasons that Black homes are priced lower. I controlled for education and crime and walkability and all those fancy Zillow metrics. And what we found, it pretty much astounds that homes in Black neighborhoods are devalued by 23%, about $48,000 per home. That accumulatively amounts to about $156 billion. Now we know that $156 billion is a large number, but it would have funded more than 8 million four-year degrees at public institutions. It would have funded more than 4 million startups, businesses, based on the average amount of Black startups. It would have replaced the pipes in Flint, Michigan 3,000 times over. It's more than twice the opioid epidemic. It's also the money that people use to start businesses and to build infrastructure. So part of this dilemma that we're in, we're the most entrepreneurial group of folks in America, us and brown folks. We have to create jobs. We're disproportionately in sole proprietorships for that reason, because we don't have wealth. We have to operate businesses under an LLC or some kind of or sole proprietorship. We don't have the relationships with banks. And so while we're working to pull our businesses together, we also have to work on policy to prevent the devaluation of our businesses. And so I'm keeping an eye out on this CARES Act, the second round, the CARES Act, it just came out. I'm seeing some things that is somewhat encouraging. I'm seeing more money being poured into CDFIs, community development financial institutions, in which they're more proximate to our folk. And so we're going to have to work on these structural issues if we're ever going to get at the disproportionate numbers that we find ourselves in.
Wow, Amaka, when you go into the data and you just look at how policy has been the precedence for the extraction of wealth from our communities that could have been leveraged, Andre, to actually accelerate us in terms of making up for the 400 years that we have literally lost in this race. So is from your perspective and vantage point, Amaka and Andre, what are some of the right now solutions? Andre, I heard you say you're paying attention to the CARES Act. Are our legislators, is Congress listening? Amaka, from industry or from your perspective, are people listening, and can we count on them to actually hear us and to do something about it?
Well, I'll start off. First, we need cities, because cities have money that oftentimes they can leverage for growth. So we need cities to establish social impact funds for new businesses, and I think that's encouraging. The problem with that is many of the businesses that will close, there'll be more businesses that will close than that we can fund or start up new ones. And so we need to use tax incentives to encourage big businesses to hire more Black and brown folk. And so this is what many communities have tried to do with Amazon. Famously, that's what happened in New York City, and eventually Amazon pulled out. But we have to hold businesses accountable. If they're going to get bailouts, then they have to have some responsibility in building capacity of businesses. This is also a time for us to improve the procurement processes in city halls. And so this is the time to say, hey, we need a higher percentage of businesses that you do business with to be owned by people of color. So certainly every business needs customers. And so it really helps if the government is certainly being a part of that. And this is something that I think we don't talk about enough. We need Black folk to manage the municipal funds that many city governments have control over. The retirement funds for police, fire, teachers. These hundreds of billions of dollars of our money is being controlled by mainly white people. Only about 2% of these funds are managed by people of color or women, and who manages the fund determines where they're going to invest.
Exactly.
And so if we have people of color in these positions, then they will direct funds to the kinds of businesses, the kinds of things that will accelerate growth in the Black community.
Excellent. Amaka, your perspective, please.
Yeah, I think those are some awesome thoughts and suggestions. And I would just add to that from the concept of, governments, be them local or otherwise, taking an active part. One of the recommendations we discussed in our research is, really trying to leverage the efforts of legislation such as the Opportunity Zone legislation, which basically invests and provides incentives for investors to direct their capital to underserved areas, which happen to typically be places where we have high African American concentrations. And the value of that is that this capital is obviously super helpful to have investors involved, but it's hard to get them to invest in places which aren't already booming, which is why these opportunity zones are really helpful. When we have them, then what ends up happening is that you have folks are able to access things such as mixed use development in areas where they can, when all of this social distancing is lifted up, but like physically take part in commerce. So that's one area, the federal support and investment in these opportunity zones. But in addition, other thoughts is us as individuals really trying to strategically position ourselves in places which are growing. From the research that we did, we found that a lot of the places that African Americans live are places which are declining economically, particularly parts of the Southeast, where there really aren't that many jobs. Whether COVID happened or not, there just wasn't a lot going on. However, there are specific pockets which we describe them as high growth hubs, places like Atlanta, Orlando, other areas where there are large cities with large populations of African Americans, more Dallas and Houston, obviously. Having people sort of center themselves in those areas where investment is already a bit easier to come by could strategically be a way for folks to take advantage of growth without having to necessarily rely on government intervention. I just think right now, from a federal perspective at least, it's just tough to rely on that. We've already seen how the payment protection loans, which were supposed to help ordinary people, just didn't. I think that more and more we're going to just, at least for now, unfortunately, have to rely on ourselves to figure things out, because we're not in a, and these are my views, not speak on behalf of McKinsey, obviously, because I'm now formally with McKinsey, but I'm not convinced this administration is going to be looking for opportunities to help people in our demographic, quite frankly.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I definitely believe that you all's recommendations about the municipal components of what cities can do. Cities control workforce innovation and opportunity act funds that come from the state, which of course come from the feds. But, you know, in the CARES Act, Andre, we'll close with this. I noticed where the administration gave governors the authority to redirect all workforce innovation and opportunity act funds at their discretion for emergency training and preparedness. Imagine if we could get our governors to say, let's shift some of these resources towards coding boot camps and startup incubators at this particular time. But in that spirit, I want to say thank you, Amaka, for joining us. And Andre, I want to say thank you for joining us. Andre, really quickly, tell us about your new book. We definitely want to hear about that work that you've recently published, and tell us where we can get it as well. Thank you.
Yeah, make sure you go get Know Your Price at any online retailer. It's available now. And I'll just say this to close out. The book title was named after my favorite play in the whole wide world, Two Trains Running. There's a refrain in that play made by the main character, Memphis, where he's about to have his business taken by the city of Pittsburgh. They're about to sell it to him for $15,000. And he says, no, I'm not selling my business. I know my price. I got my price. I'm paraphrasing. And it is a refrain throughout the play. And there's another character, Hambone, who paints a fence for a ham, never gets his ham. And throughout the play says, give me my ham, give me my ham, give me my ham, until he goes crazy and dies. But there's actually a happy ending to the play. The main character, Memphis, gets $35,000. It's assumed he's getting market rate, or what a white business owner would receive. And the moral of the story should be clear. You have to know you have worth. More importantly, you need to know the price you're willing to stand on. In these times, nothing is going to happen unless we stand up on our price. Even if it means going crazy and die, governors aren't going to give us this. It's going to come with a demand. So I encourage folks, particularly in the tech community, to use platforms, to use tech, to mobilize people, because it's one of the most efficient ways to do so. So thank you again to Morehouse, RadioOne, Momentum, OHUB, Rodney, and all the folks who've contributed. This is our moment to stand up and to know our price. So let's get it.
Thank you. All right. Wow. That was amazing. Let's give it up one more time virtually for Andre Perry of the Brookings Institution and Amaka Yukchikba, formerly of McKinsey and Company. Best wishes to you in your new role. So we're now pivoting from talking about so much of the problem to now starting to talk about these new technologies and these solutions. So joining me for this next conversation, we have some amazing industry subject matter experts. And so first up, I want to introduce our moderator for the panel, Shelly Archambault. She's a CEO, Silicon Valley leader. She's what we would call an OG in the tech game. She's a board member for Verizon, Nordstrom, Roper Technologies, Okta Inc., and an advisor to RBC Capital Markets. And she's also an author as well, with a new book coming out in October entitled Unapologetically Ambitious: Take Risk, Break Barriers, and Create Success on Your Own Terms. Joining this panel as well is Dr. Timnit Gebru. Timnit is a computer scientist. She's the co-founder of Black and AI, and she's the technical co-lead for the ethical artificial intelligence team at Google. Next up, we have John McGilligut. He's headquartered in York, Pennsylvania, and is the founder and CEO of York Exponential. And also joining this panel is Cass Dawson, who's the head of strategy, marketing, and communications and STREAM education. I'm sure he'll tell everyone what that is, of SoftBank Robotics America. Thank you for joining this New Jobs Forum. I'm excited to hear this conversation on automation, the future of work, and Fourth Industrial Revolution 101. Shelley, take it away.
All right, Rodney, thanks so much. And it's great to be here and to indeed be moderating such an established and stellar panel here. So let's just jump right into it. You know, the Fourth Industrial Revolution is part of the title of this panel, and it's described by the World Economic Forum as fundamentally changing how we live, work, and even relate to one another. Well, we've been hearing about robots and AI and seeing movies and all that stuff for years. So the question is, you know, this Fourth Industrial Revolution, what does that really mean? So let me start actually with John. As the CEO of a robotics company, you're right in the thick of things. So I'd love to hear your perspective on what is this Fourth Industrial Revolution?
Sure, no, that's a great question, and thank you for having me on here. I'm looking forward to this. So the first industrial revolution was really powered by the steam engine. So it was refined by steam, James Watts in the 1700s, and it fundamentally changed what it meant to be a human being. Following that was electrical, and then there was computer, internet, interconnectivity, which is the one that really passed everybody by. And then the fourth industrial revolution is going to be powered by artificial intelligence, robotics, quantum computing, a bunch of these interconnected new technologies that are going to grow at an exponential rate. The third industrial revolution was really the one that began to be siloed into different groups, and I'm sure we can talk about that a little bit later. But essentially, it's the coming of artificial intelligence, robotics, the Internet of Things, and all of these devices and technologies coming together.
All right, that makes sense and helps us really frame kind of what's so different about this revolution versus the prior ones. You know, Cass, I'd love it, given you're on the forefront of automation as part of SoftBank. What does our audience really need to know about the trajectory of jobs and opportunity as it relates to this current revolution?
So thank you for having us here. It's great to be a part of this. Wonderful to be talking to this audience in particular, trying to drive a mission that I feel is very personal to me and to a lot of the folks that have been speaking already. So thank you for that. I think as far as what people need to know is it's just that, as John mentioned, where the fourth industrial revolution, where these robotics and automation and artificial intelligence, where that's going is it's inevitable. And it's going to be a huge movement across all industries, impacting the way jobs are done. And there's this discussion constantly about is automation or are robots or artificial intelligence going to steal jobs? And what we need to understand is it's not actually stealing jobs, it's creating jobs. There will be more jobs in these fields than there are currently jobs that are planned to be replaced, because it's really about task replacement, not job replacement. So what people and what I would implore the audience to be thinking about is not what are jobs right now, but where is the future going? What things are happening right now? What is innovation? What is technology? How can I get to be a part of what's happening now so that I can help define the future?
Yes, and Timnit, you're living, breathing, working right in this space and doing lots of research, et cetera. Do you agree with Cass?
I agree with Cass to a certain extent, with the caveat that I mean, a lot of my work is about understanding the risks and potential harms caused by AI and working to mitigate those risks and harms. And one of those risks is in that transition period between automation of certain jobs and creation of new jobs because of artificial intelligence, there's a group of people who are currently in the process of being harmed, right? Like similar to the past
similar to all the previous industrial revolutions that we talked about. So, for example, with the, like the first 3 industrial revolutions we talked about. So, for example, when we were talking about the steamboat, then there's also, during that industrial revolution, there's a lot of colonization that was happening, right? And so certain groups of people were benefiting from the industrial revolution and others really weren't. They were being exploited. And with AI, there's, I don't know if you have heard of Ruha Benjamin or many other, particularly women of color who are writing about some of the things that are happening, not only because of automation, but because of, for example, digital redlining and many other things I can touch on later. And so what we have to be careful of is to be vigilant and to make sure that our community is aware of some of the ways in which the technology is used. And that's one of the reasons that it's really important for us to be at the forefront and driving, kind of steering the direction of how this technology is used. So in terms of automation, when we're talking about, something like truck drivers, right? So self-driving cars, one of the first use cases that people are talking about are like automating some very specific routes. Or if we're looking at other lower wage jobs, and who are the people currently in those jobs and who are the people at risk of losing those jobs. And so that's something I think we really have to think very carefully about and make sure that our community is educated and make sure that our community has the opportunities that other people have to be at the forefront of this technology.
Interesting point, Timnit, because you're absolutely right. Every time we have a revolution from a work standpoint, it always disenfranchises and displaces a number of workers. If you look at the last revolution, you can almost argue that tremendous wealth was very concentrated in terms of how it was created with Silicon Valley. John, interested in your perspective here. Why did technology explode in Silicon Valley, and why was that the location for a lot of wealth? Whereas when we look at the 4th generation, fourth industrial revolution, how do we ensure that that's actually more broad spread? And given that you created a robotics company in York, Pennsylvania, which is not Silicon Valley, I think you've got an interesting perspective.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a journey, and quite frankly, not the easiest thing to try and accomplish in a place like York. And I've had a chance to see so York was the first capital of the United States. We were this powerhouse in World War II, inspired the nation. So we have this history of taking these big risks. And what I saw, since a lot of these industrialists were still alive, is very often that first and second generation were kind of the risk takers. And so they were building these big companies, and the city was exploding, and there was all this happening. And then when the second generation came along around the 3rd industrial revolution, many of the risk takers, the kids took over. So they went from being risk takers to caretakers. And there's a very different mindset around being a caretaker when it comes to this. So new things start to seem as something that's going to rock the boat or take away what you have. And so my community, for example, missed out completely on all of that. There's empty factories, there's empty warehouses. I remember last year, there was a big headline in the newspaper that our local community college was going to start teaching people iPhone app development. I was like, great, 10 years late. That's awesome. It's really great that we got on the bandwagon. And I think that has created, I think, 2 very distinct kind of mindsets where many people go, I'm not techie, right? And so they think there's a very specific group of people that will get this, and there's a bunch of other people that won't get that. And I think one of the exciting things that's happening right now, and I know we're going to talk a little bit later about how the pandemic is kind of fueling this. Whenever you get a massive shift like this, comes incredible challenges. Because I think, Timnit, you're right. Like the disruption is coming, and it's here. And if there was ever a time that we need to be the first generation of responsible disruptors, it is now. Like this is happening at a breakneck speed. So we need to be very, very careful and deliberate with how we do this. The other side, though, is the pandemic, I think, is showing this, that organizations that are incredibly powerful are showing their cracks. And once this starts to happen, there's space in the cracks. And there's an incredible opportunity when you're small enough to get through those cracks, when you've got other people just trying to hold everything together. And that's where I think a lot of this can be flipped on its head, where it's a change in regulation around how to invest in startups, new skill sets. Like I remember I've encouraged students and people that are right coming out of school going, you understand that you know more than probably the CEO. Like the CEO of these companies are panicking. very quickly you can become the go-to person that all of a sudden can steer the direction of policy and the direction of a company. If there was ever a time that that can be flipped, it's right now. But we have to be responsible, and that caretaker generation is still trying to hold everything together. So if you're willing to be that risk taker and be a little cunning with how you do it and see those cracks, and I hate to use the word manipulate, but the reality is people are looking for answers, and if you can have that answer, there are amazing things you can do in a very short period of time.
Yes. So, John, you're highlighting kind of the opportunity that exists here. But there's also the challenge of how do we make sure that everyone, all communities, especially, frankly, our people of color, how do they participate in this? You know, Cass, you've headed up education and community outreach programs for several years, both at Mercedes as well as SoftBank. How would you set the stage around the challenges of ensuring that everyone actually gets the opportunity to participate?
So I think it starts with an understanding and appreciation for the fact that not everyone's at the starting line. And it is the responsibility of organizations that are pushing and driving technology and driving this automation to try and help get these underserved communities to that starting line. Right? If we're going to reach back and give back, it's really important to figure out who needs the most help so that that starts at the right place. I mean, you look at some of the numbers, they're dizzying. There are almost 1.5 million jobs open right now in the space of STEAM or STEM related careers. And colleges and universities are graduating numbers that would serve about 25 to 30% of that on an annual basis. We're falling far short. We also look at people of color are less than 3% of the numbers, less than 3% of Black students, less than 3% of Latino students, or just about 3% of Native American students graduating college are graduating in those fields. And so it's really important to make people feel and see that those opportunities are there and get them excited. And you have to find new ways and use new tools to encourage them at a younger age. It's not just starting at college, it's not even starting at high school. These things we see, the desire to get into, what we call it STREAM, and that was discussed when we started, because we add in robotics. So it's science, technology, engineering, arts, robotics, and mathematics. Getting students excited early on. We've seen that early on in elementary school, students of color lack the confidence, lack the desire to chase any interest in those fields. And so it's on us to make sure we're providing the tools to help encourage them and get to see and understand that it is achievable and you can bring something unique to that skill set. And that's why I think, again, it's on, what John and his organization is doing, what we're doing with SoftBank and trying to reach back out into schools. It's really on the organizations who are driving that, because it's pointless to drive innovation and technology if you're not simultaneously ensuring that the future of work will be provided by the right people.
And Shelly, do you mind if I just add something to what Cass said?
Please do.
So I'll give a little bit of an experience I just had, and I'll keep it brief, but I don't understand. I don't know that people understand how much power they have right now. So I was asked to present before the Missouri and Kansas Senate and Congress, and I was amazed to see there would be groups of 20 people, and congressmen from all different backgrounds would stop everything. There would be press there. If traditionally disenfranchised communities and communities of color step up and be the pioneers around AI, robotics, demanding education, demanding workforce, and making it very public that they're the drivers with lawmakers, you would be amazed at how fast policy will begin to change. The problem is it hasn't elevated to the level of where lawmakers think it's an issue. Like once they start to understand they'll lose votes or things will be detrimental towards them, there's an opportunity for whole groups to be pioneers in AI and robotics and demanding this. Because I can tell you, I know a lot of very affluent school districts that think they're completely fine because their kids can develop apps. They're not talking about AI. They're not talking about robotics. They're not talking about the Internet of Things, quantum computers. So this is an incredible opportunity when a whole group of people think they've got it made and understood, when they really have no idea what is happening. There's an opportunity for people to become experts, leaders, and quite frankly, if you want to see change, demand it. This is an incredibly amazing time that the tools that we have can't fix the problems that we're facing. So there is a very big opportunity for people to rise to the level of being advocates and experts in emerging industries that, as I said, the highest level of decision makers have no idea whatsoever.
Really, really good point, John. I wanted to add another point to the key elements that Cass just talked about. And that is, Cass, you talked about it's never too early to start and we need to start younger. And that's absolutely true. But I also want to say it's never too late for people listening to this show. I mean, it's never too late. We have a lot of years to work. I had a young man, honestly, that guy that I mentored, he started out graduating college in a non-STEAM, non-STEM space. In his mid-late 20s, decided to go back and actually not to college, but just take some classes. He's now a CEO of a software company. So I'm just telling you, it's never too late. There's opportunity and it's available to all of us. But there's other reasons why we need to participate in this world of AI and machine learning, et cetera. Timnit, I want to share a little bit from a research standpoint of why it's so important for people of different backgrounds to participate, to ensure that we don't have built-in biases, right, to the different systems and solutions that are being created.
Yeah, so maybe I'll also touch on some of the things you all said in the process of doing that. So in terms of interest, I came personally from the opposite standpoint, where I was always interested in math and science and physics, but I was met with so much racism and sexism that at every step of the way, the message I was getting was that I don't belong here and I shouldn't be here. So I think that we have to do a lot more than get people interested early on. And in fact, we have to focus, I think, at the top, at the leadership level, and make sure that the people who are there have a good supportive environment. So like the inclusion part of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And for me, that's one thing I constantly face at work and what I do, and that's also why I co-founded Black in AI. So like, so this has happened to me every single time that I was super interested, but it was just kind of, I was being met by so much adversity. So to talk about AI being like the fourth industrial revolution, like one example I can talk about, I think, is for example, I worked on this paper called Gender Shades with my colleague Joy Bolamini, and this paper showed for the first time the really high disparities in error rates between in automated facial analysis tools between darker skinned darker skinned. The highest error disparity was between darker skinned women and lighter skinned men. And there was a few things that happened. This was two Black women writing this paper for the first time. Many other people had done this kind of analysis before, but sometimes they would use race, sometimes they would use ethnicity as a proxy for race. Sometimes they would do something different. But we, we were inspired by works from critical race theory and intersectionality, and we understand that race is a social construct that's unstable across space and time. So we looked at in this instance we looked at skin tone. So so we used this dermatology kind of it has issues, but we used something called the Fitzpatrick skin type classification system. Anyway, so we showed that there were really high disparities in error rates, right? So there was a few things going on here. One is that other people did a similar analysis, but in a different way, where they didn't have the kind of knowledge that we did because we're from this particular community that we're in. The second thing is other people didn't think it was as important to do this kind of work because they were not in heavily policed communities. And so they did not see how face recognition and surveillance was being used. And many times, actually, when people do this kind of work in algorithmic fairness and bias, it's really not with the intention of impact. So sometimes you have to take a risk. You have to really take a risk between your career and what you're doing to make sure that this kind of thing has impact. So, for example, a follow-up paper to ours showed that Amazon's recognition system that they sell to law enforcement had a similar kind of error disparities in error rates that we did. And Amazon VPs after VPs came after these people. There were two Black women, again, like my colleagues. And then we had to write letters from Turing Award winners and all that. We had a whole letter. We wrote an open letter. It was all over the press, and they had some sort of pressure, right? So the thing that, and one of the authors of that paper, by the way, which was on the New York Times, was going to quit the tech industry similarly because of adversity and exclusion and discrimination. And she told me that until she came to Black and AI, she came to Black and AI basically ready to quit. And she didn't. Not only did she not quit, she's thriving and she's doing the kinds of important work that's important for our community. So what I'm trying to, and then of course, this work has resulted in policy changes. So actually, recently in San Francisco, they banned face recognition, use of face recognition by law enforcement. In Oakland, and there's all sorts of other kind of biometric rules and privacy rules, and citing our paper, right? And so I guess the reason I wanted to give this example, I mean, there are many others, I just chose a specific example, is that it shows that technology is a tool and it can be used for many different reasons, right? And if we're not on the driver's seat, if we're not determining how this should or should not be used, it can be used adversely against us. And many times, because if we care about our community and we have the lived experiences to see the pros and cons, that can come into our research, and then we can influence policy as well. But this is not different from the type of inclusion work that we really do, because this kind of this work, I mean, I consider my my work socio-technical. So this work is not just technical, but also is situated in the socio, geopolitical, socio kind of economic world that we live in, because technology is not just in the abstract.
Yep, you're right. Thank you very much for that. Let's move to the pandemic, all right, that we're currently experiencing. Because John, you touched on this and said, gosh, everything that's going on with this pandemic, it's just going to escalate. And you're right. Typically during times of crisis, whatever trends are currently started or underway, they just speed up. So perhaps you want to highlight why, even in this pandemic, it means that there's actually more opportunity and frankly, more risk as well.
Yeah, so I think I touched on it a little bit earlier, that you've got kind of the cracks appearing because things that we thought were never possible are happening very quickly. And you tend to have two kinds of organizations or leaders, one that takes advantage of all of the risks and the others that does everything they can to keep things the way that they are. Well, the reality is things are going to change regardless. So through this are going to come an opportunity for leaders to rise very, very fast. I think we will be amazed at how fast people begin to take the reins. And it also, I think, is going to flip things on its head, where it's accelerating AI, robotics. Cass, you and I were talking yesterday about how we're both in robotics and things are exploding in a way that they're not going to come back again. But I think one of the best ways to think about it is kind of, before the light bulb, being in a whaling community was incredibly valuable, right? Like, so being near the ocean, and then all of a sudden light bulbs were everywhere and everything had flipped on its head. We can learn a lot from history. So seeing kind of how all of those things affected changes, the pandemic combining with some of this, with the reality is if you can learn the basics of some of this technology, and I think Timnit was talking about it, like even the lack of exposure, just not even knowing what is possible or the direction that things are going. There are so many people that are doing their best to hold everything back that in a very short period of time, if we're quarantined, if you have access to the internet, if you have something, be using that time to educate yourself on the basics of this technology. And all of a sudden you will start to realize the world is opening up in a way that is unlike anything that has ever happened before. So the pandemic is fueling this change. And you've got a lot of other people using all of their resources to keep things here. If you can snap yourself out of it and realize there are all of these other opportunities. I mean, we need massive diversity in AI and robotics, not a little bit, right? And even from a business case perspective, artificial intelligence and robotics is going to be everywhere. So our workforce and the developers have to reflect our society. Otherwise, from a business case, it's not even sustainable. You're going to end up doing a lot of stuff Timnit was talking about where the AI is going to be skewed, which makes it not valuable, quite frankly. Like it's just, it hits a certain limitation. So there are a number of incredible opportunities for a new type of data scientists, AI researchers, but even in the blue collar world, like robotics. Cass, you and I talked about this. We're going to need people to install, service, repair. And it goes to what you were saying, Shelly, job changers, people that maybe before were driving a truck or working in a restaurant or all sorts of things that are going to shift. all of a sudden can play a place in the fourth industrial revolution. If you want to be a data scientist, you can do it. If you want to have a good, solid middle-class job in robotics and AI, you can do that as well. My hope is that the fourth industrial revolution will be the first truly inclusive technology ecosystem, because it hasn't worked so far. It just hasn't. We're hitting a level where the technology is becoming inefficient. It's not reliable. I think some of the stuff you were talking about, Tim, it just isn't. And so we need to diversify the workforce, diversify the leadership, diversify elected officials. I mean, we need to get this right, because if we get it wrong, it's not going to be good. It'll be terrible for everyone. So I don't care where you come from. I don't care the color of your skin. If we don't get this right, we're going to be paying for this for the next 1,000 years. And this, I'm not trying to overstate this. Like, this is serious. And the pandemic is speeding it up to a level where we have to get this right. People will look back on how all of us responded to this, and history will judge us.
I fully agree. If you look at it just in this country, and then Cass, I'm going to give you a chance here to add, but just in this country, over 65%, I think it's like 68.9 or something percent of the population are people of color and women. And if we're not at the table and we're not participating, we won't be able to address all the needs and opportunities that exist. So fully.
You get it wrong.
Cass?
I just wanted to add, first, I love being on panels or speaking at events where John's speaking, because he's so passionate about it, and it just allows me to, I don't want to say come over the top, but just, he tells a lot of the story that I would love to tell normally, and then I get to add to it. I think what's really important about robotics and the way we think about it, we define it as cobotics. So it's the robots working alongside people. It's the robots allowing people to do higher fidelity tasks and manage more important things. And the robot does the menial, repetitive tasks that people quite honestly don't like, and leads to job dissatisfaction. That's an important piece. Also, yesterday, John said something that I was hoping he would say, so I want to attribute it to him. He said, we're moving from a space of fear of the robot stealing my job to a place of the robot is now saving mine or saving my family members' lives. And so what's happening is, especially because of this current pandemic, where people don't want to interact with other people, touch other people, don't want to touch places where other people have been, the ability to have automation that cleans or takes care of some of these things is really skyrocketing the appreciation and understanding for robotics. And that goes top to bottom, right? The idea or fear of automation or robots exists at the boardroom all the way down to the blue collar worker. And right now, if people start to see and feel, at all levels, that robots is going to help business and jobs improve and be better and work their way through this pandemic, then it's helping us. It's the rising tide for all of our boats in the automation and robotics space. And I think it's a watershed moment for us that we need to take advantage of. And it's tough to say take advantage of a pandemic type of scenario. And it adds to us wanting to make sure that as we're taking advantage of it, as it has the light of day and the attention of media, we need to make sure all audiences are being a part of that discussion. We need to make sure that it's not just your typical Stanford, white male graduate who's getting an opportunity to have the conversation about what new jobs in robotics and artificial intelligence are. It needs to be everybody. We need to have that conversation like we're doing today, and like we just invite more people into the conversation and get more people comfortable with the idea of automation and STEM or STEAM education.
Absolutely. And I actually see a few comments coming through from the audience out there. So let me just throw a couple topics out here based upon that. Everybody's good with that. So one, a lot of questions about pivoting. Is it too late? I'm not in my 20s and 30s, or I'm in my 50s, or whatever. Is it too late? And I'd love to hear your views. My view is it's never too late, as long as you have the energy, the desire, and the willing to work. Given how much opportunity is out there, employers need people who have knowledge. They don't care this time what they look like if they have the right skills and drive. But I'm interested, you guys, what's your view?
I'll go first. I don't think it's ever too late. What's interesting about technology is that it keeps improving. And so we're getting to a place now where we're getting to what's known as low code or no code, where you literally need less and less technical expertise to get involved in the coding. I think the way we look at it is it's not replacing jobs. We need to make sure that we retrain the existing workforce if they're being if some of their skills or some of their tasks are being replaced. So we try to make sure that, again, from a cobotic standpoint, they're working alongside the robot, learning how to program it, learning how to fix it if something's down. Those are all new skill sets that can begin to build upon each other. And people, again, it's that existing workforce. So it's never too late. Jump in now and get ahead of that curve, because the curve, we're deep into the curve, and it's going to happen, as John loves to say, like it's unavoidable. And if we miss this, he's right. The next 1,000 years, we're going to be behind the 8 ball. So I think it's never too late. Jump on, get whatever learning or education you can, and find an opportunity because there are so many of them out there.
Absolutely. Go to where the puck is going, everyone. Think of hidden figures. I mean, just you see it happening, just don't wait. Jump out there and go look into it, understand, etc. Timnit, you have any perspective you want to share?
Yeah, I wanted to share a few resources for people if they're interested in getting into machine learning. For example, there are some online places like fast.ai is a good one that I like, and they have people, doing study groups and things like this. I don't think it's too late. And I also think that we need people. I always talk about interdisciplinarity and why that's really important in our field. And like in our team, we just hired a social scientist, and this is like the first research scientist who's a social scientist to be hired at Google. And like we're hiring a second one because we're understanding that we need people from all disciplines to be involved in the creation of AI and its design. So it's also kind of thinking about, how much more of the existing discipline that you're a part of can you apply to this field. In my particular case, I pivoted, but within electrical engineering, I did all sorts of different things. I did analog circuit design first, which, and then I did like optics. And I was all over the place. And I felt like I was in the wrong track in the sense that I was kind of feeling a little lost at some point. But at this point, I know that my prior background actually has inspired a lot of my current research, which I didn't think I didn't think that was going to happen. When I was, pivoting, I just thought I was kind of like going all over the place. But in the end, it did. The prior background that's different kind of helped inform my current research.
All right, excellent. John, anything to add before I wrap us up?
Sure, yeah. So full disclosure, I'm also the president of the Fortress Academy. So we're the world's first licensed college to create the first generation of robot mechanics. So it's all accelerated education in AI and robotics, combined with traditional manufacturing like welding and fabrication. So I have a big passion to make sure that we can rebuild the middle class and not leave people behind. So I definitely believe it's not too late. The other side, and I guess I'll just leave it with this, is knowledge used to be power, but in an age when you can Google anything, you can get knowledge everywhere. What's powerful is secret knowledge. Like when you know something before other people, that's incredibly valuable. And so that window is still here. Like the technology, and Cass, I think we talked about the technology is moving faster than the awareness, right? Like it's moving like this, but our understanding of it is not proportionate. So if you can get into it now and begin to expand your mindset and understand this, you will be leaps and bounds. So that secret knowledge makes you incredibly valuable. It gives you such a huge jump forward. And the other thing is time is moving at an exponential rate. Like 1 year now, you could learn 5 years worth in 1 year. And for a fraction of the cost. It's amazing to see what's possible if you truly understand that opportunity. But no, it is not too late.
That's right. And one last point. Yes, having that technical degree, whether it's knowing how to code, engineering, AI, data science, et cetera, that's wonderful. But if you look at a company, that's not 100% of their payroll. You can still be in AI. You can still be in robotics. You can still be involved with machine learning. You don't have to be the one that actually develops the underlying code to actually build a successful career. So get in the industry. I don't care what you're doing. Get in the industry. All right. With that, I would say thank you very much, panelists. I appreciate your time. And I'm going to turn this back over to the host.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Shelley, that was amazing. And fellow panelists, John, Cass, Timnit, thank you all so very much. That was off the chain amazing. We learned so very, very much. great time as well. So we're going to move on with our session today. And we have an amazing panel coming up talking really deep diving into programming, coding, development. I don't even know what to call it. Erica, good to see you again. Jessica, good to see you again. Dr. Kenneth Gosha, good to see you again. Rebecca Conley, good to see you. Thank you all for joining us today. So with that, let's get the show rolling. And again, this is brought to you by Radio1, Morehouse College, Momentum, OHUB. Remember, as Rodney Sampson says, we want you to, Erica, you know what the word is.
Amplify.
Use those hashtags and tweet and Facebook Live and more. Erica and I were together for 5 hours a few weeks ago. So with that, let's dive into it. Jessica, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, and it's so good to see you again and see everybody here tonight.
Same here. Erica, you doing well?
Doing awesome. I'm so glad to be here.
Indeed. Rebecca, how are things in your world?
They're beautiful here in Durham, and I'm honored to be here.
Excellent. Dr. Kendis, how are you?
Doing great, man. How about yourself?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for joining us here. So let's get right into it. We have a number of questions here, and I know we're going to really share knowledge with people. I think that, Jessica, it's amazing how who knew this would happen, when it happened. The world has changed. I've been telling the small businesses I work with to think big, think differently. And I think that this is a great time. We're here talking about Black and brown opportunities and more. And this is a great time. And I think sometimes you want to knock people on the head that, yes, this is the time. This is the time. Jessica, first question to you as we get into kind of the brass tacks of coding and what you guys call other things, development, and you can demystify that. But let's talk a little bit about the history of coding, what it is, why is it started. And I say that one thing I want to tell the audience, for those of you who know this answers already, turn around, tell your mother, your grandfather, your cousins, your little niece to come over to the computer right now and listen to what you say. Half the audience is living with people, Jessica, that are like, no, you've got to be an accountant, doctor, lawyer, which are great. But we're talking about the tech. So Jessica, history of coding, what is it? Why should we care? And while you're at it, how in the world, how does momentum fit in? Floor is yours, Jessica.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. And to your point, this is a great time to think big. And I think, Rodney Sampson has rallied up a bunch of people that are trying to think big or thinking big right now. And so it's a pleasure to be with you all tonight. So I want to focus really quickly, very high level on what has happened as far as the context go. Sure. We just came off a panel talking about the fourth industrial revolution. So let's put some time frame around what has happened, because I think everybody in here, we can relate to that time frame. So 1989, 30 years ago, AOL You've Got Mail happened, right? So those emails and the You've Got Mail, that happened in 1989, right? Steve Case, AOL, those organizations. So that is just put a context. A couple years ago, Taylor Swift came out with an album called 1989 because it's the year she was born. So we're talking about Taylor Swift's age. That's AOL. Fast forward, 2007 was a really big year from technology. In 2007, we started to see what the impact of cloud technology could do, how software could get amplified. You started to see Facebook really take off. That was the year that Facebook, I think, opened up outside of just college students. From there, we saw Airbnb. We saw all of these companies, Uber, Lyft, all of these companies really start to come out. If you look at the grand scheme of things, this is an accelerated time frame, which I think the last panel was really addressing. So I'm not going to right now get into the specifics of what coding is, because coding is what's behind what makes all of this happen. This is how you and I live our day to day. Everything that goes behind what the screen that we're doing right now and how we're talking comes from code. But what I do want to talk about really quickly is how the industry has helped get people ready for code, right? How have we made sure that in this acceleration, we go from AOL in 1989, bringing us all the ability to communicate via email, fast forward to all the social media revolution, everything that's been happening. That was in 2007. Fast forward to what we're seeing today with what's happening with this pandemic and companies like Slack and Zoom and Peloton that's got digital classes. All of this, we're seeing them have gangbuster results from this time period. So what the industry did about 8 years ago, the code school industry looked at or was born from these accelerator companies that were trying to accelerate this innovation. So we may have all heard of a company called Y Combinator. Mm-hmm. They help produce, Airbnb, Stripe, Dropbox, all of these companies. The tech industry looked at the Y Combinator model and said, we have got to produce people that can code. We have got to produce people that can work on these products and help us get forward, because bottom line is most of the workforce that went through college did not learn how to code, right? If we look at that accelerated time period that we were talking about, most of the workforce was not thinking about learning how to code. And so how do we answer this? How do we get people trained to keep up with this fourth industrial revolution, to keep up with the new jobs? And so that's where code schools came about. In 2013 in the United States, and this is according to Course Report, which is one of the sources that tracks the code school industry. In 2013, 2,000 people graduated from code schools across the country. Last year, over 23,000 students graduated from code schools across the country. Code schools are now in 85 cities across the US and Canada. We are now mostly all operating online through virtual means. Students coming out of code schools are typically, on average, people that have 6 years plus of work experience. A lot of them have bachelor's degrees. They experience starting salary average of $67,000 when they come out of code school. That's annual salary.
I just want to
over the first 23.
No, it's okay. I just want to ask you one clarification thing, Jeff, because what this stat you're saying is these are not people who are 18 and 19 years old necessarily who are starting to code. These are more, as it were, more mature people. I just want to make sure I heard you.
Yes, okay. Correct. Yeah. So far, the code school industry, the mission of the industry was, to the point of the last panel, training people that were already in the workforce. What do we do with all these people that are in the workforce that have got to get reskilled? Okay. You got to catch up with this. Now, we are seeing that as things shift, and I think the pandemic is going to be shifting that as well. There's going to be a lot of younger people that are gaining these skills, and part of the partnership that we're going to be talking about tonight, Momentum and Morehouse College coming together, are going to be to answer those students, and we'll see that adapt. But as far as the history of where this movement was born, started in 2012 and has really been focused on retraining the existing workforce. And so students on average coming out of code school programs are making $67,000 a year. That's across the country. Of course, in markets like California, New York, those salaries are higher. Within the first 3 years of students graduating, they're seeing a 25% increase in that starting salary. Students that report a low income coming into code school programs are seeing 128% increase in their salary. The average student is seeing about 40% increase in their salary. So these are really, really good jobs. And the industry, to the point of the acceleration that we've experienced, has figured out, how do you educate, how do you prepare people in an accelerated fashion to address this acceleration that's happening in tech? So that's what a code school does. And we're here tonight to talk about Momentum as a code school provider, pairing up with Morehouse College, which is one of the most legacy schools in the country, and how we are bringing this education to more and more people, especially through the current situation with this pandemic.
I love it. This is powerful. And Erica, thank you very much, Jessica. And Erica, I want to follow up with you before I get to talking about the Momentum at Morehouse initiative. Beautiful Mind has a comment here. I see it here. Basically, I'm going to say she, could be a guy too, but Beautiful Mind is saying, I'm coming from an acting background, and I hope it's okay, Erica. I just want to throw this at you. And basically, she's saying, I don't want to be bored with coding. How do people who have a more creative mind? It seems so boring. Can you do? And I see Rebecca. I was going to ask you that, Rebecca, because your title is but Erica, I'm going to throw that to you. What's your quick response? And then dive in a bit and share with us Momentum at Morehouse. Why is this initiative so important? We've talked about this so much. I know Rodney Sampson and team are excited. Jessica's excited. So help us understand, how do we not be bored, or is that a mystery? And then tell us about the initiative.
Yeah, I first of all, I love that question, because it hits spot on at one of the things I take pleasure in disrupting. And that is when we think about what someone that knows how to code, or is a software engineer or a software developer, what that person looks like or what their skills are. Some of the best coders And as I'm talking to people and hearing their stories, the best coders are those that are creative, that are artsy, that want to create. Because when you think about coding, you are creating something out of nothing. So what better way to be creative than through coding? A couple of weeks ago, Rebecca did a Mondays with Momentum through OHUB. And she taught how to create beats with coding. That's creativity at its best. So when we think about what someone that's a software engineer or developer, and if they're artsy and they're creative, that is all of coding. And I really encourage people to, when they think about a scientist,
right,
someone working with robotics, someone that is on the computer creating the algorithms, when you close your mind, what do you see? Do you see a white male? Do you see an Asian male? Do you see a female? Do you see a person of color? Do you see yourself? And really rest with that, because when you look in the mirror, a developer looks like you, it looks like me. We are technology. We are creators. So thank you, beautiful mind, for that question, because it was an excellent way to, let's just start with disrupting just all of that about what someone that goes and is skilled in coding looks like. And to answer your question, Ramon, about momentum at Morehouse, and Jessica teed it up by sharing that these coding boot camps have been around for several years now. So the coding, the full-time immersive and upskilling people in technology is not new. But what's important about this partnership is what differentiates Momentum at Morehouse in partnership with OHUB. Why this one is so different. It's because it's a solution to what we've been talking about. We've been talking about 7 million Black Americans that have been displaced due to COVID. We're on the front lines. Dr. Thomas talked about right now, we're at 20% unemployment rate. McKinsey, Amaka, which you were talking about, the McKinsey study that was done prior to COVID, that said by now 9 years, 4.5 million jobs will be displaced due to technology, artificial intelligence, cobotics, as Cass and John just said. And most of those, again, being Black Americans displaced. And you don't need to look very far to see that it's happening now. Go to your local Home Depot, your Publix, your Walmart, wherever you're shopping, and look at all the cashiers that are now displaced with self-checkout.
That's right.
Or go to the local manufacturing plant or production plant and see the cobotics working side by side with humans. And right now, businesses, people that are sitting at the table are talking about, how are we going to optimize our supply chain? How are we going to get to consumers quicker and faster? How are we going to track and trace where, as we're trying to get these solutions for COVID, how are we going to get it to people, patients, quicker and faster by cell therapy, optimization? These are conversations that are happening, and they all happen with technology. And I imagine that most of us sitting here today have used technology in some way, whether it be we've ordered online or we're using technology now through this platform. So in bringing it home, it's important that with all of us being consumers of technology, that we are the ones writing the algorithms.
You're right.
That the diversity that we see behind the scenes with the technology replicates what we see in society. Otherwise, we leave ourselves open to unconscious bias that we all have when it comes to gender, race, socioeconomic, you fill in the gap.
Sure. No, this is powerful.
So Momentum at Morehouse is a solution to that. It's a solution, and it's targeted towards Black and Brown communities, people of color. So it's a 12-week full immersive experience, proven technical methodology through Momentum. in partnership with Opportunity Hub, that's bringing the culture of work that is specific, although it's for everyone, but it absolutely is targeted towards people of color.
No, that's powerful. I love it. I love it. So, Rebecca, I'm going to turn to you. Give us a brief vision. Again, we're going to end this session in a bit. We got a lot of questions coming in, and I'm enjoying it. But, Rebecca, walk us through, since Erica says it's not boring, Jessica says we need to do it, in brief format. Give the students here listening and those who are the naysayers or excited about it, what is it like, Rebecca? We're chilling with you. We've applied. What is it like in brief?
Well, now everything is virtual, but it's still personal
Sure.
and interactive. We do coding is a skill.
Okay.
It's a skill like playing an instrument, speaking a language, shooting free throws. It's a skill that gets better with practice. So throughout the curriculum, there's some lecture, and there's also lots and lots of hands-on experience writing code. We start with HTML and CSS, which is the stuff that you see on a website. We move on to JavaScript, which allows to build more interactive web pages. And then finally, we put it all together. We learned Python and Django, and that allows us to create full web applications. And by the end, we're working in software teams using the tools that you would use in the industry to design from scratch and build full web applications. So like when Guru said, we need to build the next platform, hopefully somebody will do that in their final project in Momentum at Morehouse.
I love it. And I'm curious, Rebecca, I'll just turn to you. I was going to ask this to Erica, but Rebecca, continue on with that. What's the type of person you're looking for? I mean, should they be a nerd? Should they have to twill a pencil with their finger? I mean, what's it like?
Well, I'm a code school graduate, one of the earlier adopters in 2014, and I definitely did not think I had it. I wasn't sure what it is, but I was sure I didn't have it. But people who are curious,
right,
and people who love to learn and have enthusiasm and grit and willingness to persist.
Okay.
Again, that's why I really like the free throw analogy, because if you get out there, you shoot a lot of free throws, eventually you will become a better free throw shooter.
Oh, no, for sure. I trained. I mean, listen, I played for the NBA until I got too good. But
yeah, me too. I mean, that's.
No, thank you so much, Rebecca. Listen, now I'm going to throw it back to you, Jessica, to talk specifically to the Black and Brown community who we're talking to tonight. Can you talk about how Morehouse or Momentum, how you personally, as you want, are supporting this community, why it's so important to you? And then, Dr. Gosha, I'd love you to echo on that, and then we're going to turn the page a bit. But Jessica, I'd like to, on behalf of everyone here, why is it so important to you, and what are some things we need to know about what you're doing to support this community?
Yeah, I think to the theme of all of the panels that we've talked about tonight, it is beyond time for this to happen.
Yeah.
We're thinking about the next 100 years. We mentioned in the last panel that this is the fourth industrial revolution. I always like to remind people that the way that we work today came from, it was an American invention. It was Henry Ford, 1910. That's what gave us the 9-to-5 workday. That's what gave us the school system that we have now that got people ready for production work. And now we're the very beginning. In fact, it's already been in place for several years about what we do today is going to affect the next 100 years. And listen, I don't look like a typical CEO in this world. And it is a time for us to engage. Our campus is in Durham, North Carolina, the home of Black Wall Street. We are surrounded by amazing entrepreneurs that have a shot and we need to make sure that as our country is rising up and as even changing and getting ready for the next 100 years, that we are inclusive of everybody and that technology is being built by everybody in the community. So we are deeply passionate about that as an organization, and we're really excited about this partnership. We're excited to work with one of the most legacy HBCUs in our country too. It's a true honor to have this partnership come together. And so big things are happening, and now is the time. There's never been a better time in a global pandemic to look at opportunity. Look at what opportunity exists. We all have the time to be rethinking and thinking about what's ahead of us now.
No, I appreciate it. Dr. Gosha, I'm going to turn to you. I'm curious. I go to Rebecca and she teaches me. Jessica welcomes me in. Erica, says, oh, wow, inspirational. So, Dr. Gosha, I go through the program. what next? What happened? I go through this program, and again, a lot of people asking questions, Dr. Keshia. So I encourage you, OHUB, Opportunity Hub, and you can see the website there, momentum.morehouse.edu. Just go to those links. All of us there. Thank you, Momo Mac, and others asking these questions. But Dr. Keshia, what next? Do I get a certificate? Do I not? Job, can you walk us through kind of, you got that certification now. I put the hard work in. What do I do with that? What happens?
So definitely the job is the goal, right? This is different. Some people hear boot camp and they don't know the difference between a boot camp and a computer science club or a coding workshop. The purpose of this is to make sure that when you leave this program, you're employable by companies and you have those skills to immediately walk in the door. One thing that kind of brought along this relationship was that these companies, they're begging for coders. I mean, they are literally begging. They're beating down my door at Morehouse looking for people, employers that they take me out to fancy restaurants, try to wine and dine me, trying to see if they get a hookup or connection with some young coder, and they told me privately, we'll offer $100,000 to someone that graduates that we like. We'll offer $100,000 to steal somebody from another company if they want to go to another company, not us, right? I won't call names out, but there is a real demand for coders. And it's not just a fluke. It's just not something to be cool. I'm telling you from a college perspective that I get harassed about finding students for these coding jobs. The special thing about Momentum at Morehouse is that we've learned to adapt at Morehouse, that everyone's not going to be the same student that's going to come to a residential 4-year program. And so there's so many people that want to learn how to code specifically that we had to do something different. And that's how part of the reason why the Momentum at Morehouse program came about.
Yeah. No, this is powerful. And we're going to wrap up in another 2 or 3 minutes. But Erica, I want to turn to you about some costs and things like that. But I do want to push Dr. Keshia one more question to ask you is that I think also that many, as we change the generational shift, as Jessica has started us off with, I think that we need to just change what it means to have a job. You know, and it's about happiness and fulfillment, and that you can have a great life doing other things. So I just want to echo Dr. Keshia, what you said. Erica, I'm going to turn to you. Can you give us a summary of that? People can go to the website again to find the details, but give us just a quick, some high-level view of the cost, or how do you apply? What do you do? What happens? You know, walk us through that.
Yeah. So if people go to momentum.morehouse.edu, there is a link there to apply. You fill out an application. We see it immediately, and you are contacted within 24 hours. So you are contacted immediately as you're going through the process, because class starts soon for the summer cohort. And I am excited to share that we recently adjusted the tuition to make sure that, we want to make sure that this Momentum at Morehouse is a experience that isn't, switch it from being maybe a dream for some to becoming a reality. So the tuition is now $15,500. And if you are alum from Morehouse College, Spelman, Clark Atlanta, you get a $1,000 discount.
That's not bad. I like that.
Not too shabby. And again, it's Momentum at Morehouse in partnership with Opportunity Hub. So you get those soft skills that are absolutely critical, especially when you're going from maybe being one of many to one of few, or the one that's sitting at the table, or the one that's creating your startup. You get the skills to be successful in those areas as well. So it's a premium product that I'm thrilled to be a part of.
I mean, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, as far as financing, we have partnerships with a couple of financial institutions that specialize in full immersive courses like ours. And we also are we're designing, we're putting it in place. We should be announcing what it looks like soon, an income share agreement. So we're super excited to be able to offer that as well.
So like if people take a screenshot of this and tweet it out and mail it to Jessica, do they get a better? But Jessica, I'm gonna turn the question to you, one of our final questions, and this has been a great session. But Jessica, the question to you is that for investors, for those who may not want to be programmers but want to support what's going on, anything that you say to them, messages for them as far as investors wanting to help or invest, either way, hiring and things of that nature, how does that work? And especially as Dr. Keshia said, the talent pool, those who want to be in that, what should they do?
Yeah, all call to all employers out there. We are looking for employer sponsorships. Erica just mentioned the tuition, and we're hoping that as we come into the fall, even in the summer and into next year, that employers step up to what Dr. Keshia said is we need, they've mentioned that they need coders, right? So we would love for you all to sponsor. We'd love the employers out there to come and sponsor the tuition for folks, provide scholarships. Also, make sure to hire our students. And if you want more information, you would like to contact us, reach us at info@momentumlearn.com.
Wow. And this has been Erica Parks Murray, who's the program manager. I should have said this first. Dr. Keshia, division chair for experiential learning and interdisciplinary studies at Morehouse College. Jessica Mish, who's co-founder and CEO of Momentum Learning. And Rebecca Conley, lead instructor, Momentum Learning and treasurer, and Django Software Foundation. And with me, she's the one who shoots hoops all the time and used to be in the NBA as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a fantastic panel. Thank you all for being here on behalf of Rodney Sampson, OHUB, and in partnership with RadioOne, Morehouse, and Momentum. Thank you. Erica, you and I got to get back on stage together. Thank you so much.
The dream team there.
Brian, I'm going to turn it back over to you, brother.
Thank you, Ramon. Oh, man, it is an awesome panel you just had there on an awesome forum. I mean, it's going down today, man. I'm loving this. But coming up next, we have our last panel of the night. Okay, I'm bringing out the stars this go round, Ramon. I'm bringing out the stars right now. I'm talking about we have 4 actual Black software engineers and coders that come from a diverse set of backgrounds and circumstances. And you might be asking yourself, is this possible? Well, we're about to find out what's really good with it. We got Corey Shaw in here. We got Rondell Davis, Jeanette O'Brien, Cheryl Summers. How y'all doing?
All right. Great to be here.
Honored to be here.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you all for coming in. Now, I'm gonna start with the ladies first. Could each of you all introduce yourselves and let everybody know exactly who you are, where you're from, and how you got into coding?
Cheryl, please go first. Hi, I'm Cheryl Summers, and I'm the new kid on the block. I spent 12 years in technology support, and during that time, had my hands into creating software applications. But I did it on a voluntary basis, sort of like a little thing on the side. But I got so much gratification from creating something out of nothing that I decided, guess what? I wanted to undertake the Momentum Learning class, and I did. Did the 12-week immersive course and just graduated last month. And so I'm now getting my feet wet in the job search business right now, looking for a job. And I came away with some awesome skills. I'm excited about having gone through the program, and I'm going to just pass it on to Jeanette.
Awesome. Jeanette?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeanette. I am a cohort 2 graduate. I graduated from Momentum in October of 2018. Before then, I was in the graphic design industry and early childhood education. I was getting a little bit burnt out working with kids. They're great, but they take a lot of energy. And being a creative, I wanted to get into graphic design, but I felt like I was stagnating in my role. I wasn't really learning a lot of new skills. And I knew I wanted to do work that would impact people on their day-to-day. So I decided to get into software development for those reasons. I love solving problems, and I really wanted to be able to help those who need help with technology in some way. And I find my job extremely fulfilling, really exciting, and there's never a dull moment being a software engineer.
Awesome. Rondell, is on you.
Oh, no problem. I'm Rondell Davis. I probably check off a lot of the marks for not your typical tech person. I was in high school, class clown, played around, didn't work up to my potential. Later on, after graduating high school, I went to HBCU, Elizabeth City State University, graduated from there with a degree in exercise science. I thought I was going to be a physical therapist. That's very far from technical. But as I graduated college, got my first job working as customer support for a tech company, I started working alongside a lot of other developers. And a lot of the developers looked nothing like myself. So I eventually got more interested in it, started asking questions about what they did, what they were doing. And I just kept nagging them, like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do this? And they started seeing like I was really serious about wanting to learn how to get into tech and how to write code. So they gave me a book, told me to read it, come back in a week if I was serious. Read the book, came back with a bunch of questions. They were more than excited and ecstatic about it. And then I just started looking around locally, looking for local meetups and things of that sort. Joining those local meetups, even going to those meetups, I noticed no one looked like me when I walked in the room. I would walk in the room and everyone would turn around and look at me. And to me, I looked at it like, oh, shoot, are you all feeling like I shouldn't be here? But I later came to find out that it's very rare to see someone that looks like myself stepping into the tech field, which should never be the case, but it is the case nowadays. So I kept going to these meetups, and I would actually use the fact that I was the only person that looked like myself in these meetups to my advantage. And I would go in asking questions, talking to people, networking, letting myself be known, letting them know who I am, what my ambitions are, what I want to do. And then just working with the same job for 6 years, I made the pivot. I literally walked away from a job I was at for 6 years, resided, and joined Momentum for a full-time 3 months. And what led me to do that is that I was doing the same job day after day. And eventually I got kind of bored with it. Like, not to speak so highly of myself, but it became so easy for me on a day-to-day basis. I got bored with it. And tech really just always had something on me that I loved, the idea of problem solving and just keep evolving and learning more and more every day. So I enrolled Momentum. That was probably like the best decision I ever made. And graduated from cohort 3 last January. And now I've been for the past year, and I love it. It's the best choice I've made in my life. I can say that much.
Awesome. Corey, let them know who you are and where you're from, brother.
Hey, my name is Corey Shaw from Selma, Alabama. I'm a software engineer at Emory University, and I'm also the current founder of CUSoon.io. My background is very similar to Ronell. I didn't pick the traditional background of an engineer. I actually started off as a janitor. About 3 years ago, I was working as a janitor, living on my mom's couch, very depressed. I didn't know where I was, where my future was headed. I had just been told that I could no longer attend Morehouse College because of lack of funds. You know, I was just pretty much unsure. And one day I came across this tweet that pretty much changed the trajectory of my career. It was a tweet about this new coding bootcamp called Code Start, launched in 2016 by Rodney Sampson. And I was fortunate enough to get into this program, go through the program, work my way to the top of the class. About 3 months after graduating, I landed a job as a software engineer at Emory University, where I currently work. And fast forward today, Emory has helped me pay for my college tuition, so I was able to go back to school at Morehouse and finish this last year, and I had all my loans paid off. So, you know, it really worked out for me.
I know that's right. I know that is right. Congratulations. Yeah. Now, my question to you all would be, what is a day in the life of a software engineer / coder? What is it that you all do on a regular basis? When you go into the office and it's time for y'all to get busy, what is the job description? You feel me? Oh, well, anybody, Jeanette, you want to start?
Sure. My day-to-day looks a little bit different now, given, you know, the situation with COVID-19. But when we were going into the office, a day would look like meeting with my team for a daily stand-up, or morning stand-up more rather, and that's a time for all of us to talk about the work that we've been doing, if there are any blockers that we have or any support that we need from our teammates. That's the time for us to have that discussion and kind of figure out what we're going to work on for the rest of the day. Teams usually work in sprints, which is a period of 1 to 2 weeks where we take on a couple of features for an application. That could be something like adding a new page to a web application, or adding perhaps a chat function to a mobile app, something of that nature. and we'll kind of plan out our 2 weeks in grooming and planning, and we'll have a couple of ceremonies like that. But for the most part, a lot of people, when they think of somebody who is a developer, they think of somebody who's sitting in front of their computer, you know, just hacking away at the keyboard all day, 24/7. Maybe they're in like a dark basement, you know, nothing around them. But that's not what developers are like. A lot of our developing job is talking to other people, collaborating and communicating. And, you know, before we even get to writing the code, we will talk with each other about how we're going to implement the solution. It's more problem solving than it is writing code. And so when we all think of developers, I want us to stop thinking about, you know, code monkeys who just, you know, bash the keyboard for hours a day. There's more to it than writing lines of code. And, you know, the technical part of being a developer is just a small piece of that career.
Cheryl?
Now remember, I'm still in the midst of getting where all of you are. So I'm the new kid on the block, but let me just tell you that my experience has been, since I've graduated, touching base with and networking with potential employers out there. That includes LinkedIn, that includes making calls, that includes, you know, tapping into all of those friends and resources out there that are available, because a job can lie behind any one of those resources. And so I'm hopeful that that will happen for me. In the morning I get up, I make sure that my resume is up to speed. If I have to alter it to adapt to another job opportunity, I do that. I'm applying to jobs that are pushed to me through LinkedIn and or through our career services at Momentum. Katie Dunn is our career services manager, and she's pushing and putting information out there on the Trello board every day for job opportunities that are available. So you reply to them, you prepare yourself for technical interviews, you prepare yourself to tell your story and to be able to apply, you know, yourself to, and let them know how interested you are and the capacity that you have for learning and for being able to adapt into the environments that are out there and available.
Cheryl, I got a question for you. How hard was it for you to catch on to coding?
It wasn't very hard for me at all because, again, I came from a technical perspective. Okay, that's number one. I had been doing some coding through a commercial off-the-shelf application, and my interest in coding was very high. The courses themselves, we were in it from the morning, 9:30 in the morning until 11:30 in the afternoon. Until 11:30 in the morning when we had our instruction, and for about 3 hours we had a chance to do our assignments that Rebecca would give to us, or any of the other instructors, and we had time to work with the cohorts in our class, and to alumni such as Jeanette, who would come in and help us with our assignments, and or even coders who are on Slack. You know, all you have to do is reach out, and there are resources there to help you to understand, to get past any block or any hurdle that you are faced. And coding from home, let me tell you, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, working from home, for some may have been a hardship. I was a cheerleader that said that we could do this. And we did. We managed to get through, everyone successfully, you know, did their projects and everything. And I'm just excited that we're here where we are today.
Awesome. Now, Rondell and Corey, my question to you guys is, what advice do you have for the next generation of coders, or for people that might not know that coding is for them just yet? What would you tell that person?
I guess I'll say one of the biggest things, everyone turn your volume up for this. You're not going to find another time throughout your lives than this moment here, where literally the world has went on pause. So take advantage of this time, pick up a new skill, go to YouTube, go on Google, go buy a book off Amazon, learn some new skills of why the world is like on pause right now. Because while you're doing this, picking up these new skills, you're honestly like, you're increasing your own personal net worth for the next employer looking for you. So that when you are out there and you may be someone who may have been furloughed from a job, you can now apply these new skills to go out there and look for a job that you may have not been able to obtain before, or even felt you didn't have the skills for before. And then also say that be comfortable being uncomfortable. For the time being, you're going to walk in rooms where you're the only person that looks like yourself. Use that to your advantage. Use that as momentum to keep pushing yourself further and further, and also pass on any knowledge you have to the next person. I always said that when I got my foot in the door, I wouldn't slam the door behind me. I would keep that door open and help the next person up who may be a little bit trying to figure out how to get in the tech world, or kind of concerned or scared about making the pivot. It's all about just your mindset. You have to have the motivation of yourself, the self-confidence, and just the drive to just know you're going to succeed. And that at the end of the day, it's going to be one of the best decisions you made. And you're going to look back and be glad that you made that choice.
Awesome. Corey, it's on you.
Yeah, just piggybacking off of what he said, just being curious. When I first started, I didn't think I would be able to code, because like no one that all of the programmers look like me. Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, I thought that they were, nerds. But when I actually got into coding, I realized that it wasn't hard, and you didn't have to be extremely smart or geeky. Anyone can learn how to code. The principles that I learned, I was persistent. I kept, Googling stuff. Stack Overflow, which is a tool that programmers use, became my best friend. I stayed on Stack Overflow, asking questions, trying to find out how I can solve this problem, how to write this algorithm. So, just being curious, using that curiosity to build your dream.
Awesome. This is my last question, though, guys. From an entrepreneurial standpoint, how can we use software development and coding to our own benefit to create our own businesses independently of any corporation or corporate structure? Jeanette, I'm gonna start with you.
Sure. When you look at websites like Amazon, applications like Slack, those all started with a small team of people, maybe one person who had that interest in technology, that interest in creating something out of nothing. Like a panelist earlier said, you can take these skills and create a business for yourself. Think about all of the technology that you use from day to day. The messaging app on your phone, DoorDash, if you're trying to get food delivered to you. These are all technologies that we all have the ability to learn how to develop, and then go and create our own version of these technologies. I think it's like Rondell said earlier, there's no better time than now to learn and pick up these skills. If you are interested in becoming an entrepreneur with these skills, now is a great time to do so, and get yourself out there. Find other people who know how to code, kind of ping your ideas off of them. Like Rondell mentioned earlier, he went to meetups, and that's a really great thing to do. I know that you can't do it in person, but try to get to virtual meetups. Definitely you can become, a self-sustaining entrepreneur, a self-sustaining developer by getting these skills.
Awesome. Anybody else want to piggyback off of that?
I'll jump in as well. Kind of piggybacking off of what Jeanette said. This time, even though you can't do a lot of things face to face, one of the best things about this moment, again, taking advantage of it. A lot of these conferences and things that are $800, $1,000, $2,000, they're doing them online for free now. So you can actually just register, take advantage of a $2,000 conference, just register online, do it for free. And you can gain a wealth of knowledge and maybe even figure out what avenue within the tech field you feel would be perfect for yourself. But kind of like Jeanette and everyone else was saying, in Momentum, you're learning front end, back end development. I took those skills, leveraged them with what I felt I was going to be good at, and also my love of problem solving, and went a different avenue. I went into DevOps, which is not front end or back end development. It's a merge of development operations. So I'm doing some coding, but a lot of what I'm doing is problem solving and automating and helping out other teams throughout their day to keep them from getting these roadblocks in their way, to stop them from doing their jobs. So it's all about like figuring out what fits for you. And there's the great thing about technology. There's so many different pathways you can go. There's not just one pathway you can go with it. So use that to your advantage and just take advantage of it, and the world is yours.
Awesome. Did anybody else want to get in here before we wrap up?
I'd just like to add that data is king.
That's
Collection of data is where it's at. People want to know everything that you do on your phone. There is some data being collected, and that's how apps are generated. Because companies know that, guess what? You're going to use your phone for ordering food, for ordering a cab, for ordering this, that, and the other. You know, just buying your clothes and your groceries now, particularly since we're homebound. And so that data is what's important to marketers, to businesses, so that they can earn your dollar. And guess what? We can earn our own dollars by collecting that data. So that's where it's at.
That's right. That's right. Get in here, Corey.
One more thing I wanted to add was, you know, with technology, there's no gatekeeper. What I mean by that is, if I was to lose my job and I was unable to, you know, find another software job, I built a 21st century skill set, meaning I can freelance, I can go provide my service to other businesses and still have a way to thrive during this time. You know, I just started See You Soon, which is a mobile application for senior care communities. You know, now that visitation bans, a lot of senior care communities have restricted visitations. So I was able to provide a service that would allow senior care communities to easily connect their residents with their loved ones. And, you know, this was a skill set that I was, if I didn't have the skill set, I wouldn't have been able to provide this solution for senior care communities.
That's awesome right there. And that's exactly what I was talking about right there as far as the entrepreneurship aspect of it all too. The ability to be able to create apps and just situations to where you can take the culture forward further than the average person to be able to go, because you can have all of these ideas in your mind, but if you don't know how to do software or how to code, it's going to sit right there as an idea. Okay. So, I mean, with y'all having that kind of information and that ability, I mean, how exciting is it for y'all to know that, okay, we're going into this whole digital age and we're already here, but guess what? We're over here leading the charge going into it. Right. Oh, anybody can get in here if you want to. Rondell, I see you over here.
I mean, it feels great just knowing like we're finally catching up to the age of technology. If you need any more of like a example, look how far cell phones have come. You don't even have buttons on your cell phones anymore, and look how quickly that happened. So I mean, you even have computers with no keyboards. You're tapping on screens. Everything's glass. Like technology is one thing that's going to always evolve, and there's always going to be opportunity for it because it's something that's going to keep growing with time more and more. And we need more people that look like ourselves in that industry. The industry wants more people that looks like ourselves in the industry. Before I came into the industry, I'm going to be honest, I thought most tech guys were white guys with glasses. I'm the complete opposite. I'm a black guy, tattoos, I wear Jordans, I listen to rap. I do everything that you would typically not think of, but that just shows you like it's for everyone to do. There's no set standard for being in technology.
Awesome. Awesome. Did anybody else want to get in here before Ramon and Rodney pop back in here again?
I just like to say,
go ahead, Cheryl.
When you decide to join Momentum, and you should, it will be the best decision that you make. All you have to do is apply yourself, be committed, and just take a deep dive into learning something new and becoming someone new.
And to dovetail off of what Cheryl's saying, the great thing about joining Momentum is that you get an inbuilt community of developers. You have graduates that have gone through this program before. Jessica Mitch, I think she literally knows everybody in North Carolina. She's got quite a large network to lean on. So you have this wealth of knowledge, all of these people that you can connect with who have been in this industry, who can kind of take you under their wing and be a mentor to you, be a guide to you. Because this is uncharted territory for a lot of us, brown folk in the tech industry, and having this community of folks who have been on the front lines for a while has been tremendously helpful. And I hope that if you are kind of on the fence about joining Momentum, that at the very least, this community that you will be afforded will kind of put you over the edge and get you to go ahead and take the leap.
Awesome. Corey, Rondell, Cheryl, and Jeanette, thank y'all so much for your time tonight. We've learned a lot.
Thank you.
And hey, man.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
No problem. But thank you once again for coming through. RadioOne, Morehouse, Momentum, and OHUB. Ramon, what's happening, brother?
Hey, I'm feeling awesome. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we are so glad to be here. DJ Ricovelli's coming back. Rodney Sampson's coming on. We are about to close this out and turn up. But I just wanted to say, Brian, it was amazing hosting with you. Rodney Sampson, before we officially end this, I want to give you the final word, Rodney. You are the man who's produced this with the vision of your team and Lyndon. But Rodney, give us 2 or 3 minutes of a word to close us out. How did you feel? And just say something to us, brother.
It was amazing. I want to say thank you to Brian and to the RadioOne family. We're just getting started, man. We got to keep innovating. I consider you all as a resource to reach Black America. I know we did something today that had never been done before. And so when you are an early adopter of what has never been done before, there could be kinks, there could be bugs. We just kept working through it today. And I want to just say kudos to everyone, because we're literally just getting started in terms of what's next. Ramon, thank you as always for bringing your energy and bringing your network to the table. We have an incredible responsibility. Everyone, the multitudes of people that were afforded the opportunity to find out about this today, we have a responsibility to ensure that we get this out to the 40+ million Black people in this country. I want to make a personal appeal. If you're watching right now, we're going to leave these links up via Facebook and YouTube. They're going to be on those platforms, so you can take them, you can share them, you can continue to amplify these respective links. It's incredibly important that we do this. And just to give you, if you subscribe to one of the famous books of historical antiquity, the Bible, one of those great books, and it talks about how this particular man created a movement. And what was interesting about it is this man, his name happened to be Jesus the Christ. I'm not giving y'all a sermon. I'm giving you a little history. For some folks,
go ahead.
But for folks who also can see it and been appreciated from the historical perspective, one man, first of all, after having come through a woman, everything we need is with the women, y'all. I think men, we got to realize that first and foremost. So after having come through a woman, being spoken about by a woman, Elizabeth spoke about to Mary, he came through, he impacted 3 people initially, Peter, James, and John. Those 3 impacted 12 more people, right? We call those to the disciples. But then there was another 70, right? And then from there, this movement just exploded, right? If you look at it even from a business perspective, and we talk about go-to-market, right? We talk about knowing your total addressable market. Well, if new jobs form, if Momentum at Morehouse, if OHUB had a total addressable market, it's Black people in America today. We're going to get to the rest of the world, but we're going to start right now with our own yards, right? 40+ million 44 million to be exact, Black people in this country. Folks don't really need a motivator now, right? Unfortunately, our people are dying at disproportionate rates because of COVID-19. We understand that when you talk about health, you have to talk about what's called the social determinants of health, which is economics. There are economic things like your income or your lack of education, your lack of resources, your lack of knowledge. People are destroyed because they have a lack of knowledge. But because of those things, they impact what's called your health, the social determinants of health. And so in order to become healthy in America, Black people have to be wealthy. At a minimum, we should be wealthy. Our argument is that we should be wealthy just to be healthy, right? Yes. We got to have both of them. And the way that we're going to counter those social determinants of health is that every ill, everything that's causing the oppression that's causing Black people to succumb because they've got to go work when they may not have the privilege that some of us have had, which is the shelter in place. You know, I do not take it lightly that we have been afforded, Ramon, the ability to barely wash our face and brush our teeth and throw a t-shirt and come down and show up and still make money. You know, I'm saying it jokingly, but folks, we need to be real. And the people who have this privilege are the people that, for whatever reason, were introduced to different opportunities, different skills. We didn't come here with this concept that we want to be the only ones, you know, or, you know, I want to be the only data scientist or ethics in AI. If you heard the empathy coming from our subject matter experts in the automation and AI panel, these people really, really care about this. And they'll tell you, we've got to have millions of people thinking about this. And so I just want to encourage you to be encouraged. If what we were talking about today seemed like it was foreign, that's okay. Okay? This is the season to leverage your uncomfortability as an unfair advantage for you to push and propel yourself forward. That's how we should be thinking at this period in time. And so I want to encourage you to go back and watch this, dissect it, write notes, Google everything, rightfully divide it. You know, come with it with skepticism, because if you come at this knowledge as a skeptic, on the other side of it, you will definitely be a hard believer, right? Don't take what we're saying at face value. Take it as a well-produced presentation. We had some amazing cultural icons from every sector of society that contributed their time. They didn't just come on and give us cookie cutter remarks. They spoke from their hearts to all of us as a people. And so we don't take that lightly. And now you have the responsibility to do your homework, use your online resources. And if you want to take the next step, join OHUB for free. The link is right there on the screen. We do daily webinars about this stuff. We have all types of programs, scholarships we're putting out there, job opportunities, startup resources, investment opportunities. We put that out there to our community and our membership. And finally, if you are ready to go down that rabbit hole called coding and software engineering, because I can tell you right now, if companies had the ability to hire engineers, they would hire them, because they need to build software tools to take us into the future of work. And if you're out of work and you could build a tool, you might be the next hot startup. You just don't know. So take the opportunity and definitely go to momentum.morehouse.edu, momentum.morehouse.edu. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody and all of us. I want us to ponder on this. What's next? Let's keep asking what's next? Let's put a demand on our experts, put a demand on our politicians, our preachers, our media personalities, our actors, our actresses, all of these people. This is not the season for foolishness right now. And I'm going to say this candidly. All of that culture vulture stuff, all of those distractions, right now, you need to clear your mind of all of that stuff, because like our dear president at Morehouse said, we got to move from surviving to thriving. But if all of you doing is, you know, buffoonery and turning up nonstop. Now, we're about to turn up now, but we've been learning, you know, for 4 hours. So we get to turn up a little bit. But if all you're doing is turning up every night on Instagram, okay, I know you want your self-care. I know you're at home. I get it. But if you don't take this opportunity to find out what's next, even if it's not for you, if it's for the people who are proximate to you, the people who you influence, the people who you are sheltering in place with, that you walk around the house and don't have a mask on, those folks, if you can impress upon those people to figure out what's next, then you will have left a legacy. So thank you once again to everyone that tuned in. Thank you, Ramon. Thank you so much, Beehive. We're going to have to keep doing this. I hear you, man. Let's make history. DJ, Ricavelli, we here for the turn up. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
All right, man.
You know, it's always a
Take it
pleasure.
easy. Yeah. Salute.
Like we always do with this time, I go for mine, I get to shine. Now throw your hands up in the sky. Go for mine, I get to shine. Now throw your hands up in the sky. I'ma get on the TV, mama. I'ma put down. Hey, 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 hey. That Rico Belly. Won't even get pulled over in they new V. The good life. Let's go on a living spree. They say the best things in life are free. The good life. It feel like Atlanta. It feel like LA. It feel like Miami. It feel like NY. Summertime shy. So I roll through good. Y'all pop the trunk. I pop the hood for a while. If she got the goods and she got that, I got to love. So yo, it's got to be, cause I'm seasoned. Haters give me them salty looks. Loud. 50 told me don't hear, switch the style up. And if they hate, then let them hate and watch them. Hey, we go. I go for mine. I got to shine. I go for mine. I got to shine. You like it what you see? Everything designer, that's on me. That's water when I walk. Looking like you, just trying to, yo. You like it what you see? Everything designer, that's on me. That's water when I walk. Looking like you, just tryna, yo. This trick got you in heat. Just jumping, baby girl, hop on it. Yeah, you know that I'm gonna be. All these tricks got you be, yeah. I'm gonna tell my love. Girl, I know that you hate. Girl, I'm not gonna let you down. I'm gonna keep you waiting. If you throw it, it's gonna get knocked up. You playing hide and seek, I'ma find you. Baby, hold on tight when you ride me. You know I like to eat, give me options. If you throw it, it's gonna get hey, we go. I wanna get it. All that for my people. Baby, we gon' keep it. I need all that love on me. You like it what you see. Everything designer, that's on me. That's water when I walk. Oh boy. supermodel. Fresh out of Air magazine. Bottles. Look, pimp juice, I keep it on. Bad than a mother. Oh, I need a bad girl. If you're a bad girl. Players, when you see me, act like you know me. I keep a dollar worth of dimes. No, pimping ain't easy. For all my chicks in the club, who knows how to cut a rug? If you're a bad girl, get at me, bad girl. Hurt me, baby. Taking it away. I'm ready to be bad. I need a bad girl. Get at me, bad girl. What sexy lady coming over me? I'm ready to be bad. I need a bad girl. Get at me, bad.
Ready or not, here I come. You get high.
Hey, Rico.
Gonna find you and take it slow.
DJ Rico Belly.
Ready or not, here I come. You get high. Gonna find you and make it.
Hey, Rico.
Now, escape, sleep, walk, or wake. Those who correlate know the world ain't kick. Jail bars ain't golden gates. Those who fake, they break. When they meet their 400-pound mate, if I could rule the world, everyone would have a gun in the ghetto, of course, when get the up and on their horse. Kick around, drinking moonshine. I pour a sip on the concrete, put it in seats, but no, don't we? Why Clef's in a state of sleep, thinking about the robbery that I did last week. Money in the bag, banker look like a drag. I wanna play with pelicans from here to Baghdad. Gun blast, think fast, I think I'm hit. My girl pinched my hips to see if I still exist. I think not. I'll send a letter to my friends. A born again hooligan, no need to be king again.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. Gonna find you and take it slowly. Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. Gonna find you and make you want me.
DJ Rico Belly.
Giving so much of yourself, it seems the only way. Tell me what you want and I will give it to you.
Welcome to the embassy. Hey, Rico. up now. Hey, Rico. All right. Hold on.
Like naked, ooh, it's almost like we're sexing. Oh yeah, yeah, boo, I like it. No, I can't deny it, but I know you can tell I'm excited. Oh girl, feel a little come through on you. Now, girl, I know you felt it. Ooh, you know I can't help it. You know what I want to do. Oh yeah, feels so good, so real. You, and it's so real. You know, all for me. Baby, just dancing so close. I see it.
That's right, good people. Appreciate y'all for rocking out. I go by the name DJ Rico Belly. Yeah. Appreciate all our speakers who came out today. Shout out to OHUB.
I put the new 40s on the G. I tap into the bloody bottoms is underneath. Cause I might got it out the streets. I keep 100 racks out. Hey, Rico. Now can't answer call cause I'm hauling. I was waking up getting racks in the morning. I was broke, now I'm rich deep. Salty. All this designer on my body got me drip. Hey, straight up body, I just got my beat. If I got up on a I'ma sip. I run the racks up with my queen, like London and Nip. But I got rich on all these, I didn't forget that. I had to go through the struggle, I didn't forget that. I hopped inside of the Maybach and I sit back. Deep, know me now, cause I got them big racks. Cause I'm getting money now, I know you heard that. Young nigga on the corner that had to serve. Uncle fronted me some cheese, had to get his birds back. We came up on dirty money, I gave it a bird back. Cut off the brain and I came out the new coupe. Either you front of y'all gang or you Subaru. Got a new Orleans, Tim and that voodoo. Ain't on that down, voodoo. I'm the new 40s on the G. I trap into the bloody bottoms is underneath. Cause I might got it out the street. I keep 100 racks inside my jeans. I remember hitting the whole thing. Now hey, that's a call cause I'm all in. I was waking up getting racks in the morning. I was broke, now I'm rich, I'm living my best life. I ain't going back and forth with you. I'm living my best life. I ain't going back and forth with you. I'm living my best life. Hey, Rico. Back and forth with you. I'm living my best life. I ain't going back and forth with you.
You got a lot to be smiling for. Come on. So what the you be wildin' for? Come on. I get my grin on. I'm smiling cause I always get my win on. I've been on so many different stages. Graced the cover of 100 magazine pages. Made people smile everywhere that I went. I even put it on the first black president. It's evident I'm hot as a crock pot. With a big smile like Mr. Hot Spot. You got a lot to be smiling for. So what the you be wildin' for? If you're breathing, you achieving. We having fun this evening, believe it. I'm living my best life. I ain't going back and forth with you. I'm living my best life. I ain't going back and forth with you. I'm living my best life. I ain't going back and forth with you. I'm living my best life. I ain't going back and forth with you. Put your little fingers up in the air. Let's go ahead and you don't need much care. I'm gonna give another ride this year. You can have that there. Hey, this is a bad vibe.
Hey, Rico.
DJ Rico Belly.
top down, screaming out money in the bank.
Bubble hard in the double law, flash the rings with the window crack. Holla back, money ain't the thing.
Nigga, I don't like it if it don't gleam, gleam in the hell with the price, but the money ain't the thing.
Put it down hard for my dogs that's locked in the bank. When you hit the bricks, new whips, money ain't the thing. Come on.
Yeah, I wanna floss it up. All across the board, we burn it up. Drop a little paper, baby, toss it up. Slacking on your pimpin', turn it up. See the money ain't the thing.
Flex the road, sign a check for your jigger style is love. X and O, save all your accolades just for dough. My game is wide, all names aside, trying to stay alive. 100 down for the bracelet. Foolish ain't out, a chain to strain your eye. Twin platinum, son, aim for the sky. Ice on my as soon as I pull it. Willies wanna rub shoulders. Money too young. See me when it gets older. Your bank account growing up. Mine's is 1000 older. Damn near out the rear trunk when I roll up. Multi till I close up. It's all basic. I've been spending hundreds since they had small face here. Rob your stash out, doubled out down in Vegas. Me and JC got it locked crazy. Where you at, haters?
Jaguar switching 4 lanes. Top down, screaming out money in the bank.
Bubble hard in the double law, flash the range with the window crack. Holla back, money ain't the thing.
Nigga, I don't like it if it don't gleam, gleam in the hell with the price, but the money ain't the
Put
thing.
it down hard for my dogs that's locked in the thing. When you hit the bricks, money ain't the thing. Y'all wanna
Here we go.
Called you again. Remember when he told you he was about to Benjamins? You act like you ain't him, they give him a little trend to begin. Now you think you really gon' pretend like you wasn't down and you called him again. Plus plan, you give it up so easy you ain't even fooling him. If you did it then you probably can. Talking out your next thing, you're a Christian. A Muslim sleeping with the gin. Now that was the sin that did just about end. Who you gonna tell when the repercussions spin? Showing off your ass cause you thinking it's a trend, girlfriend. Let me break it down for you again. You know I only said cause I'm truly genuine. Don't be a hard rock when you really are a 10, baby girl. Respect is just the minimum. You still defending on now. Lauren is only human. Don't think I haven't been through the same predicament. That shit is out your head like a million women in Philly pen. It's silly when girls sell their souls because it's sad. Look at where you be in. Hippies like Europeans, fake nails stuff out Koreans. Come again. Where come again.
We'll arise in our lives, but you gotta be smart about it. Celebration with the guys. I sacrificed 'cause I knew you could not sleep without me. While I loved you, you were my girl. You see, I thought I loved you, but you're so baby, baby. So sweet, girl, 'cause I will be alright tonight. You don't have to call. It's okay, girl, 'cause I will be alright tonight.
Oh, no.
Hey, we go.
This one I got to do, da. Me, I know get time, I did da. Dada cover my face, calling me la ba da. Biggie man, wait, where I ba da.
Hey, we go.
What's it going? You are gone. All the better. Take your time. Ride the foot. I know feet. Die for nothing. Man, what's it going? You are gone. All the better. Take your time. Ride the foot. I know feet. Die for nothing. Make you no say anything when you do, they must commend it. I can't come and keep myself. So anything we do, I try to do on my way. Plenty, so far we be just to make sure money day. But my people then go say I don't want buy, I don't want die, I don't want payment, I want enjoy, I want job life, I want buy me too, I want build house. DJ Rico Belly. Where you go? You want go? All the baby, the gal, ride the whip, I know feet, die I know money. Where you go? You want go? All the baby, the gal, ride the whip, I know feet. Different things, them happening, schemes and packaging. In a one night for shows, I'm juggling. Flow like the ocean, my boat, I'm paddling. Cherishing up, fella, that's my bro, my family. Frozen straight. When it comes to money, I take concentrate. Because I tell you straight, you are not my mate. If you become shall I be head of state. But my people then go say, I know one buy, I know one die, I know one payment. I want enjoy, I want job life, I want buy motor, I want build house, I still want to know money. What's it come? You want go? All the better. They get them. Ride the whip. On the feet. Die for nothing. Money. What's it come? You want go? All the better. They get them. Ride the whip. On the feet. Die for nothing.
Here we go. I need someone, somebody to help me turn and turn my life around.
I feel like having some church up in here. Come on.
I can't explain it. I can't obtain it. Jesus' love is so, it's so amazing. It gets me high up to the sky. And when I think
you can't take my joy, devil. Makes me clap.
Makes me clap my hands. Makes me wanna dance.
Put them hands together and have a Holy Ghost party with me. No weapons formed against me shall prosper. I'm more than an ounce. Can I get a witness up in here?
DJ Rico Belly. City, I love when it's hot. Went to that city, I broke out the knot. Got some more millies, I keep me a knot. I created history, it made me a lot. He tried to diss me and it don't fall. We call them trusted till they go to chop. Took her out of violence cause of pop. I run it like Nike, we got it on lock. I'm the boss man in a suit with no tie. I can't be sober, I gotta stay high. Payments up in the counter and drop. Riding in special like Bunny and Clyde. Don't worry, baby, I keep me some vibe. She mean it's in Bergen, she cannot decide. The ladies Mercedes, here goes the surprise. Don't keep on me, lady, her pride. In her back while I'm gripping her side. Nigga made bet, this ain't regular size. You really stop it like Pelican guy. She makes slick, I can tell her the sky. Up here at my wrist up against in the sky. You think I might sound like and change her whole life. I told her to go and work on her eyes. Everything litty, I love when it's hot. Went to the city, I broke out the nut. Got some more millies, I keep me a knot. I created history, it made me a lot. He tried to diss me and it don't fall. We call them trusted cause they gonna talk. Took her out the fellas cause it's pop. I'm running like Nike, we got it on lock.
money.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, that's my time. I go by the name DJ Rico Belly. Represent Morehouse College. OHUB, shout out to the team. Appreciate you all. That's my time.